Hi everyone, and welcome to this amazing video on Next Big Trend. You've landed in the perfect spot, so congratulations, you're exactly where you need to be. Whether you're passionate about history, music, soccer, football, culture, sports, or anything else that ignites your curiosity, this channel has it all. We've prepared some phenomenal content just for you, so get ready for an exciting adventure. Pro tip: let this play while you're unwinding, share it with your family and friends, or keep it running as your background inspiration throughout the day. It's packed with captivating stories and insights you won't want to miss. But wait, don't forget. Hit that subscribe button and tap the notification bell, because without it, you might lose track of us, and missing out on this journey would truly be a shame. Let's spread the word. This incredible content deserves to be shared far and wide. Pass this video on to your friends, family, and anyone you know who loves diving into the wonders of the world. Together, we'll create a thriving and vibrant community. Remember, you're in the right place and the perfect time is now. Join us on this epic journey, and don't forget to share it with those who could use a dose of inspiration and discovery. Let's grow this community and explore the world together. All right? It's time to settle in, get cozy, and prepare for an incredible ride through history, culture, and beyond. In this video, we'll uncover the captivating stories of the world's most fascinating regions before zooming into the unique journeys of individual countries. Picture yourself exploring the Middle East, the cradle of civilization, the Caribbean, where cultures intertwine, and Africa, the land of legendary rulers like Mansa Musa, whose immense wealth and influence reshaped history. Our mission? To bring history to life, accessible, engaging, and fun for everyone. This is Next Big Trend, History Made Exciting. Chapter 1. Mexico, the land of the feathered serpent. In a land where golden rays of sunlight illuminated towering pyramids and lush, untamed jungles, one of the world's most fascinating civilizations emerged. This was the realm of the Olmecs, the first great culture of Mesoamerica, often regarded as the mother civilization of the region. The Olmecs left behind enigmatic relics, most notably their colossal stone heads, some towering as tall as 3 meters and weighing over 20 tons. These heads, carved with intricate detail, are believed to depict powerful leaders or deities, whispering untold stories of gods, rituals, and dynasties lost to time. The Olmecs weren't just sculptors of stone, they were innovators. They developed early forms of writing, a sophisticated calendar system, and intricate religious rituals centered around the jaguar, a sacred symbol of power and spirituality. They cultivated staple crops like maize, beans, and squash, laying the agricultural foundation that future Mesoamerican civilizations would build upon. From the shadow of the Olmecs rose the Maya, who took the achievements of their predecessors to extraordinary heights. Renowned as astronomers, mathematicians, and architects, the Maya created awe-inspiring cities such as Tikal, Palenque, and Chichen Itza. These cities were not merely places of residence, but centers of cultural and spiritual life, adorned with temples, ball courts, and palaces that demonstrated their mastery of design. The Maya tracked celestial bodies with such precision that their calendar system rivaled even modern standards, predicting events like eclipses centuries in advance. Their hieroglyphic writing system, carved into stone monuments and painted in codices, chronicled epic tales of gods, kings, and the cosmos. The Maya's complex society flourished for centuries, but by the 10th century, many of their great cities had mysteriously fallen silent, leaving behind echoes of grandeur and unanswered questions. As the Maya's influence waned, the Aztecs rose to power in the 14th century, creating an empire centered on Tenochtitlan, a city of unparalleled splendor. Built on an island in Lake Texcoco, Tenochtitlan was a marvel of urban planning, featuring canals, aqueducts, and the ingenious chinampas, or floating gardens, that fed its growing population. The city's vibrant marketplaces, particularly Tlatelolco, bustled with merchants trading goods from across Mesoamerica, from cacao beans to jade. The Aztecs' religious life was deeply intertwined with their political and military systems. Temples dedicated to gods like Huitzilopochtli, The deity of war and the sun dominated the skyline. Ceremonial rituals, including human sacrifice, were believed to sustain the universe and maintain cosmic balance. This flourishing civilization, however, faced a devastating blow with the arrival of Hernán Cortés in 1519. With a small but determined force of Spanish conquistadors and the assistance of local allies, Cortés exploited internal divisions within the Aztec Empire. The introduction of European diseases like smallpox further weakened the population, enabling the Spanish to capture and destroy Tenochtitlan in 1521. From the ruins of the Aztec Empire emerged Nueva España, a Spanish colony that transformed Mexico into an economic powerhouse, its silver mines fueling the wealth of Europe. Despite centuries of oppression, indigenous traditions and cultural practices persisted, often blending with European influences to create a unique mestizo identity. In 1810, Miguel Hidalgo, a humble priest, ignited the fight for independence with his Grito de Dolores, a call for freedom that echoed through the countryside. After more than a decade of struggle, Mexico gained its independence in 1821, only to face further challenges, including invasions, territorial losses, and internal strife. The Mexican Revolution of 1910, led by figures like Emiliano Zapata and Pancho Villa, marked a turning point, ushering in land reforms and social change. Today, Mexico is a nation of immense cultural richness and historical depth, celebrated through its ancient ruins, colorful festivals, iconic artists like Diego Rivera and Frida Kahlo, and the spirited melodies of mariachi music. Chapter 2. The United States. A nation forged in revolution long before the first European settlers arrived, the land that would become the United States was home to an incredible diversity of indigenous nations. The Cherokee, Iroquois Confederacy, Sioux, and hundreds of other tribes thrived across the continent, developing intricate systems of governance, rich oral traditions, and deep spiritual connections to the land. These societies cultivated crops, traded widely, and created art and tools that reflected their resourcefulness and creativity. The arrival of Christopher Columbus in 1492 marked the dawn of European exploration, bringing profound changes to the Americas. By 1607, the British had established Jamestown, the first permanent English colony in what is now Virginia. Over the next century, 13 colonies emerged along the eastern seaboard, flourishing economically but chafing under British rule. By the mid-18th century, tensions reached a boiling point as colonists protested taxes and policies imposed by a distant monarchy. The American Revolution, which began in 1775, was a bold and uncertain fight for independence. Inspired by the powerful words of the Declaration of Independence, authored by Thomas Jefferson, the revolutionaries declared that all men are created equal, a statement that set a lofty ideal for the fledgling nation. Under the leadership of George Washington, and with critical support from France, the colonies triumphed, and the Treaty of Paris in 1783 recognized the independence of the United States of America. This victory, however, was just the beginning. The 19th century saw the nation expand westward, driven by the belief in manifest destiny, the idea that it was America's divine right to stretch from sea to shining sea. This expansion brought wealth and opportunity, but came at a devastating cost to Native American peoples who were displaced from their ancestral lands through violent conflicts and forced removals, such as the infamous Trail of Tears. By the mid-1800s, the issue of slavery had deeply divided the nation. The Civil War, 1861 to 1865, became a defining moment in American history, resulting in the abolition of slavery and the preservation of the Union. Abraham Lincoln, whose leadership and vision steered the country through its darkest days, remains a symbol of resilience and hope. The 20th century brought dramatic changes as the United States emerged as a global superpower. It played pivotal roles in World War I and World War II, became a leader during the Cold War, and achieved milestones such as landing the first humans on the moon in 1969. Meanwhile, social movements like the Civil Rights Movement, led by figures like Martin Luther King Jr., pushed the nation to confront its own contradictions and strive for greater equality. Today, the United States is a land of immense diversity and innovation, where cultures from around the world converge. From the towering skyscrapers of New York City to the sweeping landscapes of the Grand Canyon, it is a nation of contrasts, continually evolving while holding on to its revolutionary roots. Chapter 3. Canada. The Great Northern Frontier. Long before French explorers navigated the mighty St. Lawrence River, Canada was a land of deep forests, vast tundras, and abundant wildlife. This vast territory was home to diverse indigenous groups, including the Inuit, who thrived in the Arctic using innovative tools like kayaks and igloos, and the First Nations, who developed rich cultures tied to the land. These communities lived in harmony with nature, relying on salmon, caribou, and seals, while cultivating spiritual and cultural traditions that were passed down through generations. In the 16th century, Jacques Cartier claimed parts of this region for France, initiating centuries of colonial rivalry. French settlers founded New France, establishing trading posts and alliances with indigenous nations like the Huron-Wendat. However, by the 18th century, British forces gained control after the Battle of the Plains of Abraham in 1759. Despite British dominance, Canada became a unique blend of French and British cultures. The formation of the Confederation in 1867 united its colonies into a self-governing dominion, and the construction of the Canadian Pacific Railway in the late 19th century connected the country from coast to coast. The 20th century brought waves of immigration, transforming Canada into one of the most multicultural nations in the world. While it celebrates its diversity and breathtaking natural landscapes, Canada also grapples with its colonial history and works toward reconciliation with Indigenous peoples. From the auroras of the Yukon to the bustling streets of Toronto, Canada embodies the promise of the true North, strong and free. Chapter 4. Guatemala. The land of the Maya Deep. In the lush jungles of Central America, Guatemala was the heartland of the ancient Maya civilization. Cities like Tikal, with its towering stone pyramids and bustling plazas, were once centers of knowledge, art, and trade. The Maya were master astronomers, creating intricate calendars and mapping the stars with unparalleled precision. They developed a written language, leaving behind hieroglyphs that tell the stories of their kings, gods, and daily lives. When the Spanish conquistadors arrived in the early 16th century, they encountered the remnants of this once great civilization. Guatemala became a colony of the Spanish crown, prized for its fertile highlands and volcanic soil, perfect for coffee and other crops. In 1821, Guatemala gained independence from Spain, but political instability and inequality marked its early years. A civil war, lasting from 1960 to 1996, left deep scars, with indigenous communities suffering the most. Despite these challenges, Guatemala remains a land of incredible resilience and beauty. Its markets burst with vibrant textiles, traditional music echoes in the streets, and the spirit of the Maya endures in every corner of the nation. Chapter 5. Belize, where rainforests meet the sea. On the eastern edge of Central America, Belize is a land where the ancient meets the modern. Its dense rainforests were once home to flourishing Maya kingdoms, whose ruins, like Caracol and Junantunik, stand as silent witnesses to their architectural and cultural achievements. While the Spanish explored the region, it was the British who eventually established a stronger foothold, extracting valuable hardwoods like mahogany and logwood. Known as British Honduras until its independence in 1981, Belize is a cultural mosaic. Its population is a blend of Creole, Garifuna, Mestizo, and Maya peoples, each contributing to its rich traditions. Modern Belize is a haven for ecotourism, with its barrier reef, turquoise waters, and marine life drawing visitors from around the world. Yet beyond the beaches lies a layered culture that celebrates its heritage through music, festivals, and a deep respect for nature. Chapter 6. Honduras. Mountains, maize, and Mayan ruins. Honduras, known as the land of mountains and maize, is a country steeped in history. It was a major center of the Maya civilization, and its ruins at Copan showcase some of the most intricate carvings and hieroglyphic inscriptions in the Maya world. These ceremonial plazas and altars reflect a society deeply connected to both the spiritual and natural worlds. The arrival of the Spanish in the 16th century disrupted this harmony. The conquistadors exploited the land for gold and enslaved its indigenous peoples, forever altering their way of life. Honduras gained independence from Spain in 1821, but struggled with political instability and economic dependency on foreign interests, particularly during the rise of banana plantations in the 20th century. Today, Honduras faces challenges such as economic inequality and political turbulence, but remains a land of breathtaking beauty. From its misty cloud forests to its pristine Caribbean coastline, the country is a testament to resilience and natural splendor. Chapter 7. El Salvador, the land of volcanoes. Nestled between volcanic peaks and the Pacific Ocean, El Salvador is Central America's smallest country, yet it holds a wealth of history and culture. Long ago, the Pipil people, descendants of the Aztecs, cultivated maize and cacao along the fertile volcanic slopes. The Spanish arrived in the early 16th century, introducing large coffee plantations that created sharp divides between landowners and laborers. El Salvador's history is marked by struggle. A brutal civil war, lasting from 1980 to 1992, claimed many lives but also led to significant reforms. Today, the country is known for its warmth, resilience, and culinary delights like pupusas, a beloved national dish. Its people carry a spirit of hope, dreaming of a brighter and more unified future. Chapter 16. Antigua and Barbuda, a twin island tale. Antigua and Barbuda, two gems in the eastern Caribbean, were once the realm of the Siboney and Arawak peoples. British colonists arrived in the early 17th century, establishing sugar plantations worked by enslaved Africans. Antigua emerged as a vital naval base for the British Empire, with Nelson's Dockyard still standing as a reminder of this era. Independence came in 1981, and the nation embraced tourism as its economic mainstay, boasting 365 beaches, one for each day of the year, locals often say. Barbuda, less developed and sparsely populated, remains a sanctuary of pristine natural beauty. This twin-island nation weaves a narrative of resilience and renewal, with a lively cultural heritage celebrating calypso music, cricket, and the warmth of Caribbean hospitality. Chapter 17. St. Kitts and Nevis, Sugar Islands to Sovereign State. Rising gently from cobalt seas, St. Kitts and Nevis form a federation once known as the Mother Colony of the West Indies. The British and French battled over these lush volcanic isles, recognizing their rich soil for sugar production. Plantations dotted the landscape, relying on enslaved Africans who left an indelible mark on local culture. By the 20th century, sugar's dominance waned, and the islands navigated a path toward self-governance. Gaining independence in 1983, they formed one of the smallest sovereign states in the Americas. Today, colorful festivals celebrate African heritage, while old plantation sites evoke a bygone era. Known for their gentle pace of life and panoramic vistas, St. Kitts and Nevis stand as a testament to how tiny nations carve big stories of identity and independence. Chapter 18. St. Lucia, the Helen of the West Indies. In St. Lucia's emerald hills and secluded coves, the echoes of the indigenous Arawak and Carib peoples mingle with the legacies of colonial contests. This island changed hands between Britain and France so often that it became known as the Helen of the West Indies, a prize too tempting for European powers to resist. Eventually, Britain established lasting control, building a sugar-based economy. After centuries of colonial rule, St. Lucia achieved independence in 1979. Despite its small size, the island's cultural depth is immense. Nobel Prize-winning poet Derek Walcott hailed from here, drawing inspiration from the pitons, two iconic volcanic spires rising out of the sea. Rich in natural beauty and spirited festivals, St. Lucia exudes a romantic charm, where warm Creole traditions thrive alongside modern tourism. Chapter 19. St. Vincent and the Grenadines, a string of emerald isles. Speckled across turquoise waters, St. Vincent and the Grenadines form an archipelago once inhabited by the indigenous Carib people, who fiercely resisted European encroachment. When the British finally secured control, they established plantations, importing enslaved Africans. Over time, the islands also became a refuge for Black Caribs, a blend of African and Carib heritage. Independence came in 1979, and these islands, though small, boast vibrant cultural expressions, calypso music, carnival celebrations, and the distinctive rhythms of the Garifuna people. Yachting and tourism play a major role in the modern economy, supported by fertile volcanic soil that nurtures bananas and root crops. Amid the scenic beauty of the Grenadines and the main island's volcanic peaks, St. Vincent weaves a story of survival and cultural fusion. Chapter 20. Grenada, the Spice Isle. Grenada's fragrant air is perfumed by nutmeg, cinnamon, and cloves, aromas that earned it the nickname Spice Isle. Indigenous peoples, followed by French and British colonists, shaped its cultural and linguistic landscape. Britain's victory in the 7 Years' War secured Grenada under its rule, leading to the growth of plantation agriculture. After slavery's abolition and a long colonial era, Grenada gained independence in 1974. A socialist revolution in 1979 briefly upended the old order, only to be ended by outside intervention in 1983. Despite this turbulent chapter, Grenadians stand proud of their heritage, from the color and pageantry of carnival to the warmth of a community that cherishes its lush, mountainous home. The lingering sense of nutmeg and cocoa remind visitors of Grenada's enduring connection to the land. Chapter 21. Dominica, the nature island. Cloaked in mist-shrouded rainforests, Dominica is a place of rushing waterfalls, hidden hot springs, and black sand beaches. Once inhabited by the Kalinago people, the island resisted European colonization for longer than many of its neighbors, earning the respect of colonial powers for its rough terrain and skilled defenders. Though France and Britain both claimed it, Britain ultimately secured control. Dominica eventually gained independence in 1978, choosing a path toward eco-conscious development. Today, the island stands as a beacon of natural preservation in the Caribbean, attracting adventure seekers to hike its rugged trails and dive its pristine reefs. Amid tropical downpours and volcanic peaks, Dominicans celebrate Creole traditions and a cultural heritage as rich and vibrant as the land itself. Chapter 22. Barbados. Where British heritage meets Bajan soul, Barbados sits at the eastern edge of the Caribbean, its coral shores bathed by the Atlantic Ocean. The British arrived in 1627, quickly establishing sugar plantations worked by enslaved Africans. Over centuries, Barbados became known as Little England for its enduring British customs, from afternoon tea to cricket matches on the village green. Independence arrived peacefully in 1966, and Barbadians, often called Bajans, have since embraced a proud identity. Calypso music, lively festivals like Crop Over, and a passion for education have shaped the island's modern era. Although it parted ways with the British monarchy and became a republic in 2021, the echoes of colonial history still reverberate. Barbados stands today as a blend of tradition and progress, where pristine beaches meet a dynamic cultural pulse. Chapter 23. The Bahamas. Treasured waters of the Lucayan Sea. The Bahamas, hundreds of islands and cays scattered in sparkling azure waters, were the first landfall of Columbus in 1492, home then to the peaceful Lucayan people. Spanish depredations and disease devastated the indigenous population, leaving the islands largely uninhabited until British settlers arrived, including the famous pirates who once roamed these seas. Loyalists fleeing the American Revolution also found refuge here, establishing plantations. Over time, the Bahamas developed a tourism-driven economy, celebrated for its coral reefs and gentle breezes. Achieving independence in 1973, the archipelago embraced nationhood. Yet Bahamian culture is more than just sun and sand. Vibrant Junkanoo parades fill the streets with music and color, and a strong sense of community thrives among these isles, bridging the gap between tradition and modern prosperity. Chapter 24. Brazil, Kingdom of the Tropics. Far to the south, Brazil spans a vast swath of rainforest, highlands, and coastline. Indigenous peoples, from the Tupi to the Yanomami, shaped this land for millennia before the Portuguese arrived in 1500. Brazil became a cornerstone of the Portuguese Empire, fueled by sugar, gold, and eventually coffee, along with the forced labor of millions of enslaved Africans. In a remarkable twist, when Napoleon's armies invaded Portugal, the Portuguese royal family fled to Rio de Janeiro, elevating Brazil to a kingdom in 1815. Independence was declared in 1822, ushering in the reign of Emperor Pedro I. Slavery persisted until 1888, leaving deep cultural and social legacies. Today, samba pulsates through the streets of Rio. The Amazon teems with life, and favelas cling to hillsides in contrast to skyscrapers. A land of boundless diversity, Brazil's story dances between grand possibility and ongoing struggles for equality. Chapter 25. Argentina, from the Pampas to the Andes. On the vast pampas of Argentina, gauchos once roamed, herding cattle under wide open skies. The region's history begins with indigenous groups like the Mapuche and Guarani, living in harmony with the land. Spanish colonial rule was anchored in Buenos Aires, a port city that grew wealthy from trade. In 1810, a revolution sparked against Spanish authority, and by 1816, Argentina declared independence. The 19th century saw internal conflicts between federalists and centralists, shaping the nation's political identity. By the early 20th century, Argentina had become one of the world's richest countries, attracting immigrants from Europe. Tangled in cycles of prosperity and political turmoil, including military dictatorships, Argentina gave birth to musical icons like tango and to literary giants like Jorge Luis Borges. Today, it remains a land of passion for soccer, dance, and forging a future worthy of its grand past. Chapter 26. Chile, a long and narrow land of contrasts. Stretching along the western edge of South America, Chile's geography spans deserts, fertile valleys, and icy fjords. Its earliest inhabitants, including the Atacameños and Mapuche, adapted to these extreme environments, cultivating crops and safeguarding traditions. The Spanish arrived in the 16th century, but the fierce Mapuche resisted colonization for centuries, safeguarding their autonomy well into the colonial era. Chile declared independence from Spain in 1818, embarking on a journey of nation-building. Copper mining and agricultural exports fueled its economy, transforming Chile into one of Latin America's more stable nations. However, the coup of 1973 brought a brutal military dictatorship under Augusto Pinochet, leaving deep scars. Democracy returned in 1990, and modern Chile navigates global markets while grappling with social inequality. From the Atacama's endless dunes to Patagonia's icy peaks, Chile's story reflects resilience shaped by the land's powerful extremes. Chapter 27. Peru, Legacy of the Inca Sun. High in the Andes, Ancient voices echo along the terraced slopes of Machu Picchu, recalling the grandeur of the Inca Empire. From Cusco, the navel of the world, Inca engineers built roads and cities that astonished European explorers. Spanish conquistador Francisco Pizarro arrived in the early 16th century, capturing the Inca emperor and toppling a civilization advanced in architecture, agriculture, and astronomy. Under Spanish rule, Lima became a prized colonial capital, its wealth drawn from silver mines like Potosi in neighboring regions. Independence dawned in the 1820s, but Peru's modern era was shaped by political upheaval and economic challenges. Indigenous languages and traditions persist, infusing daily life with a vibrant sense of heritage. Today, Peru stands out for its culinary triumphs, from ceviche to quinoa, and its archaeological wonders, each a testament to a land still shining under the shadow of the great Inca sun. Chapter 28. Colombia, a mosaic of mountains and myths. Where the Andes split into 3 soaring ranges and the Amazon rainforest beckons, Colombia pulses with color and rhythm. Long before the Spaniards, the Muisca people crafted golden treasures, giving rise to legends of El Dorado. Spanish conquest in the 16th century brought new settlements, eventually forming the viceroyalty of New Granada. After independence movements led by Simón Bolívar in the early 19th century, Colombia faced decades of civil strife. In the late 20th century, it grappled with drug cartels and guerrilla warfare, leaving deep wounds. Yet amid hardships, Colombian culture flourished in music, cumbia, vallenato, salsa, and in literature, where Gabriel Garcia Marquez spun tales of magical realism. Nowadays, cities like Bogotá and Medellín exemplify rebirth, forging a new chapter of innovation, art, and a contagious zest for life. Chapter 29. Venezuela, the home of Bolívar. In the shadow of the Andean peaks and along the Caribbean coast, indigenous peoples built their lives around fertile plains and abundant waterways. The Spanish colonized these regions in the early 16th century, seeking elusive gold. Centuries later, Venezuela emerged as a cradle of independence, led by Simón Bolívar, the liberator, who dreamed of a united Spanish America. In the 20th century, immense oil reserves transformed Venezuela into a wealthy country. Skyscrapers rose in Caracas, and waves of migration followed. But political divisions, economic mismanagement, and social unrest turned the nation's fortune. Despite these challenges, Venezuelan culture remains vibrant, expressed in passionate music, lively festivals, and a proud sense of identity rooted in Bolívar's legacy. Even now, through uncertain times, the spirit of independence and possibility continues to glow. Chapter 30. Paraguay and Uruguay. Kindred neighbors of the Rio de la Plata, Paraguay. Echoes of the Guarani. Landlocked Paraguay sits at the heart of South America, shaped by the ancient Guarani who lived along winding rivers. When Spanish settlers arrived, Jesuit missions flourished, blending European faith with Guarani culture. Paraguay won independence in 1811, but soon faced devastating wars, notably the Triple Alliance conflict, 1864 to 1870, that ravaged its population. Today, the Guarani language stands alongside Spanish, a testament to cultural resilience. Paraguay remains a place of enduring traditions, where tereré, cold mate tea, soothes the tropical heat, and the history of survival infuses every facet of national life. Uruguay, a haven of democracy. Across the river lies Uruguay, nestled between Argentina and Brazil. Once inhabited by the Charrúa people, it drew Spanish settlers who established Montevideo as a strategic port. Independence came in 1828 after back-and-forth struggles between regional powers. Known for political stability and progressive reforms, Uruguay abolished the death penalty in 1907 and established a welfare state early on. Whether in the passionate cheers for soccer legends or in the quieter traditions of mate shared by friends, Uruguay's spirit shines with a calm confidence. Standing in the shadow of larger neighbors, this small nation has carved its own path, peaceful, innovative, and proud. Chapter 31. Bolivia, the heights of the Andean world. Long before Spanish conquistadors set foot in the rugged highlands of the Andes, the Tiwanaku civilization thrived near the shores of Lake Titicaca, building monumental temples and crafting sophisticated irrigation systems. Their legacy flowed into the Inca Empire, which extended its influence across these lofty plains known as the Altiplano. In the 16th century, Francisco Pizarro's forces swept through, seizing the region's rich silver mines at Potosi, silver that financed the Spanish crown and reshaped the global economy. In 1825, under the leadership of Simón Bolívar and Antonio José de Sucre, Bolivia claimed its independence, naming itself after El Libertador. Yet, the young nation struggled with political turbulence and fought costly wars that deprived it of access to the sea. Amid these challenges, Bolivia's indigenous majority continued to preserve traditions in Aymara and Quechua. The early 21st century saw an indigenous president, Evo Morales, championing reforms and celebrating native heritage. From the shimmering salt flats of Uyuni to the vibrant folklore festivals of Oruro, Bolivia remains a land of striking contrasts, where centuries-old customs stand proudly beside the quest for modern progress. Chapter 33. Guyana, the land of many waters. South America's northeast coast, Guyana is a blend of lush rainforests, sprawling savannas, and mighty rivers. The name Guyana itself stems from an indigenous word meaning land of many waters. Arawak and Carib peoples once traversed these waterways long before European powers arrived. The Dutch established early colonies, later ceded to the British in the 19th century. Plantations flourished using enslaved Africans and, after emancipation, indentured laborers from India, China, and Portugal, creating a melting pot of languages, religions, and traditions. Guyana gained independence in 1966, and though it has faced political and economic challenges, recent offshore oil discoveries have sparked hopes for a brighter future. Amid the thick canopies of Iwakrama Forest and the thunderous roar of Kayatur Falls, Guyana's true wealth lies in its biodiversity. Its people, a tapestry of cultural lineages, carry forward traditions in Creole cuisine, Hindu festivals, African rhythms, and indigenous crafts, an emblem of resilience, shaped by the endless flow of its rivers. Chapter 34. Suriname, a cultural mosaic in the tropics. Suriname's history is one of constant motion, of peoples, empires, and ideas converging in a tropical land carved by winding rivers and dense jungles. For centuries, indigenous inhabitants, the Carib and Arawak, lived by fishing and farming. In the 17th century, the Dutch claimed Suriname, transforming it into a colonial plantation economy dependent on enslaved Africans. After abolition, indentured workers from India, Java, Indonesia, and China arrived, enriching the cultural mosaic. Gaining independence in 1975, Suriname struggled with internal conflicts and coups in its early years. Yet the nation's blend of ethnicities and traditions endures, visible in the bustling capital of Paramaribo, where mosques, synagogues, Hindu temples, and churches stand side by side. Traditional Javanese dishes, Bollywood-inspired music, Afro-Surinamese folklore, and Dutch colonial architecture all come together here. Suriname's identity continues to evolve, rooted in rainforest heritage and guided by a multicultural spirit, a bright testament to unity in diversity. Honorary note: French Guiana. While French Guiana is part of the Guyana Shield and geographically in South America, it is an overseas department of France rather than an independent country. Its capital, Cayenne, is home to Creole, indigenous, and international communities, all shaped by a unique colonial past. From the sweeping Amazon rainforest to the remnants of the infamous Devil's Island penal colony, French Guiana offers another chapter in the wider tale of the Americas, albeit under the tricolor flag of France. Final overview. With these final chapters, Bolivia, Ecuador, Guyana, and Suriname, we complete the narrative arc of all sovereign countries in the Americas. Here is your comprehensive set. 1. Mexico. 2. The United States. 3. Canada. 4. Guatemala. 5. Belize. 6. Honduras. 7. El Salvador. 8. Nicaragua. 9. Costa Rica. 10. Panama. 11. Cuba. 12. Jamaica. 13. Haiti. 14. The Dominican Republic. 15. Trinidad and Tobago. 16. Antigua and Barbuda. 17. St. Kitts and Nevis. 18. St. Lucia. 19. St. Vincent and the Grenadines. 20. Grenada. 21. Dominica. 22. Barbados. 23. The Bahamas. 24. Brazil. 25. Argentina. 26. Chile. 27. Peru. 28. Colombia. 29. Venezuela. 30. Paraguay and Uruguay, shared chapter. 31. Bolivia. 32. Ecuador. 33. Guyana. 34. Suriname. Our odyssey now leads us to Africa, the continent where human history began. Spanning deserts, rainforests, and savannas, Africa is a tapestry of countless languages, cultures, and stories that have shaped the entire world. From ancient empires along the Nile to modern tech hubs sprouting in the savannas, each of Africa's 54 countries brims with resilience and hope. Join us as we honor this land of legendary kingdoms and boundless potential, exploring how each nation's past paves the way for a brighter tomorrow. Chapter 35, Algeria, Echoes of the Kasbah. Algeria's vast expanses stretch from the Mediterranean coast to the depths of the Sahara, where Berber communities known as Imazigan have cherished their independence for centuries. Phoenician and Roman footprints linger in ancient ruins. Ottoman legacies echo in the architecture of Algiers, and French colonial rule triggered a long, courageous fight for freedom. In 1962, Algeria emerged independent, standing tall despite deep scars. Today, the bustling Kasbah of Algiers exemplifies Algerians' enduring spirit, a maze of narrow streets filled with the aroma of mint tea and the echoes of shared laughter. From modern universities to ambitious infrastructure projects, Algeria continues to reclaim its diverse identity. This determination underlies each step forward, reminding us that even the harsh desert sun can't dim the light of a nation united in hope. Chapter 36, Angola, Kingdoms of the Great Rift. Angola's story begins long before the Portuguese arrived, with powerful kingdoms like Ndongo and Congo that traded ivory and copper across the continent. Although colonization led to centuries of exploitation, Angolans fought a grueling war for independence, achieved in 1975 only to endure a prolonged civil war. Emerging from the ashes, Angola is now one of Africa's fastest-growing economies, rich in oil and diamonds. Beyond natural resources, Angolans treasure their cultural heartbeat, intricate Semba dance rhythms and Kizomba music that spark joy at every celebration. Children laugh in Luanda's streets, a testament to resilience forged by past struggles. Angola's story proves that no matter the hardships, a people's unity and resolve can open the door to a future of triumph and innovation. Chapter 37, Benin, the Legacy of Dahomey. Centuries ago, the mighty kingdom of Dahomey flourished on the coast of present-day Benin. Famous for the all-female Agogie warriors and intricate bronze artwork, Dahomey traded palm oil and gold with European merchants, unfortunately also entangled in the transatlantic slave trade. French colonization followed, but Benin reclaimed its sovereignty in 1960. Today, the royal palaces of Abomey and Vodun, voodoo festivals, link Benin's past to the present. Despite modern challenges, Beninese citizens demonstrate a fierce dedication to democracy and growth. Their warm hospitality, artistic creativity, and commitment to heritage infuse everyday life with a sense of direction. By remembering their ancestors' resilience, Benin shows how tradition and progress can walk hand in hand toward a better tomorrow. Chapter 38. Botswana. Diamonds on the Kalahari. Botswana's terrain seems harsh at first glance. Arid sands of the Kalahari stretching into the horizon, yet it has long nurtured vibrant indigenous cultures like the San, Bushmen. After British protectorate status, Botswana peacefully achieved independence in 1966, only to discover hidden treasure beneath its deserts, diamonds, fueling one of Africa's most stable and fastest-growing economies. But Botswana's true gem lies in its commitment to uplifting its people. The country invests heavily in education, healthcare, and conservation. Elephants roam the Okavango Delta, a natural wonder that symbolizes Botswana's harmonious approach to growth. Through wise leadership and respect for tradition, the Botswana inspire us all to look beyond difficulties, find hidden strengths, and transform adversity into opportunity. Chapter 39. Burkina Faso, Land of Upright People. Before being named Burkina Faso, Land of Upright People, in 1984, this West African nation was known as Upper Volta under French rule. Across its savannas, the Mossi kingdoms thrived for centuries, coexisting with diverse ethnic communities. Post-independence saw the rise of bold leadership, most notably Thomas Sankara, who championed self-reliance and accountability. Even in the face of political unrest, Burkinabe citizens remain resilient and welcoming. Festivals like FESPACO, Africa's largest film festival, in Ouagadougou, unite voices from across the continent. Through music, dance, and storytelling, they celebrate a steadfast spirit that finds hope in community values. Their example reminds us that integrity and cooperation can flourish even under the harshest conditions. Chapter 40. Burundi. Heart of the Great Lakes. Tucked in the Great Lakes region, Burundi was once a proud kingdom ruled by Mwami, king, commanding lush rolling hills. German and Belgian colonial eras heightened divisions among Hutu, Tutsi, and Twa communities. Despite conflicts that scarred the nation after independence in 1962, Burundi's cultural identity, rooted in world-famous drumming traditions, has never wavered. Today, the sight of drummers fiercely pounding rhythms near Lake Tanganyika speaks of hope, unity, and an invincible heritage. As Burundi moves forward, its people nurture reconciliation efforts and sustainable agriculture. Their optimism flows like the rivers that birthed the Nile, reminding us all that renewed beginnings can emerge where the land meets the water of possibility. Chapter 41. Cabo Verde, Islands of Exile and Song. Off West Africa's coast, the Cabo Verde archipelago lay deserted until Portuguese sailors arrived in the 15th century, using it as a pivotal stop in the Atlantic slave trade. Over time, African, European, and Brazilian influences interwove into a Creole culture, as fresh and breezy as the island's trade winds. Independence in 1975 heralded a new dawn. While natural resources are scant, Cabo Verdeans harness their greatest assets: music and human spirit. Mornas, heartfelt ballads of love, loss, and longing, trace the soul of a people who transformed hardship into art. With tourism, education, and global partnerships, these islands demonstrate that perseverance can bloom in even the most remote corners, shining a hopeful light for small nations everywhere. Chapter 42. Cameroon. Africa in miniature. Known as Africa in miniature, Cameroon showcases every landscape imaginable: verdant rainforests, golden savannas, mountainous highlands, and a gorgeous coastline. The powerful Sao civilization once flourished near Lake Chad, while kingdoms like Bamum fashioned dazzling art. Colonized by Germany, then divided between French and British rule, Cameroon united post-independence in 1960. Today, this cultural mosaic resonates through sports, cuisine, and music, uniting over 200 ethnic groups. From Douala's bustling ports to the grassland kingdoms of the Northwest, Cameroonians exhibit a buoyant spirit. Their resourcefulness in agriculture, tech, and enterprise lights the path to a future that embraces diversity as both a treasure and a source of unbreakable unity. Chapter 43. Central African Republic. Rivers of Hope. Rich in wildlife and dense forests, the Central African Republic, CAR, once hosted sultanates whose trade routes followed the Ubangi and Chari rivers. French colonization led to brutal forced labor systems, with independence arriving in 1960. Political turbulence and conflict have challenged the country, yet its people show an astounding capacity for hope. Among the Baaka in remote rainforests, ancient traditions and communal support thrive. Civil society groups in Bangui advocate tirelessly for peace, reminding us that even the darkest nights can give way to dawn. CAR's journey is one of determination, an ode to the power of ordinary citizens who, despite hardship, champion a dream of harmony and shared progress. Chapter 44. Chad. Crossroads of Saharan Sands. Chad's story arcs across desert caravans and age-old kingdoms like Kanem-Bornu, which commanded powerful trade links spanning the Sahara. French colonization in the early 20th century shaped modern borders, stretching from parched dunes to more fertile southern plains. Since independence in 1960, Chad has grappled with political strife, but her people are unyielding. Resilience is woven into Chadian culture, from the clay huts of remote villages to the markets of N'Djamena. Festivals unite diverse ethnicities, while young entrepreneurs strive to harness agriculture and renew energy sources. Their perseverance in a challenging climate proves that if hope can blossom under the scorching desert sun, it can flourish anywhere in the world. Chapter 45. Comoros, Perfumed Isles of the Indian Ocean. Nestled between Madagascar and mainland Africa, the Comoros archipelago earns its nickname Perfume Isles, from the sweet ylang-ylang blooms used in perfumes worldwide. Arab, Swahili, and Persian merchants shaped local sultanates before French colonial rule took hold in the 19th century. After independence in 1975, frequent coups tested unity across the isles, Grande Comore, Moheli, and Anjouan. Yet Comorians remain steadfast. Traditional wedding celebrations can last weeks, blending dance and faith in lively processions. Children grow up amid azure waters brimming with marine life, a reminder that each wave carries the promise of renewal. In the Comoros, even political storms cannot overshadow the sunshine of cultural pride and natural splendor. Chapter 46. Congo, Democratic Republic of the Heart of a Continent. Sprawling across Central Africa, the DRC, formerly Zaire, features lush rainforests and the mighty Congo River. Here, kingdoms like Congo and Luba boasted sophisticated artistry and governance. Belgian colonization under King Leopold II inflicted massive atrocities, yet the Congolese spirit survived. Independence in 1960 was followed by turbulence, but also by cultural brilliance, seen in Kinshasa's iconic rumba and high-energy dance scenes. Despite ongoing challenges, conflict in the East, poverty, and global resource competition, the DRC pulses with hope. Grassroots communities champion sustainable mining, healthcare, and education. Each young Congolese musician or entrepreneur stands as a testament to the human will to rise above adversity, shining a light from the heart of the continent to the entire world. Chapter 47. Congo, Republic of the Emerald Rivers and Colonial Legacies. North of the DRC lies the Republic of the Congo, once part of French Equatorial Africa. The Loango, Congo, and Teke kingdoms traded ivory and fabrics, leaving behind splendid art and regal traditions. Post-independence in 1960, civil wars in the late 1990s left scars still healing today. Yet, the Congo's lush forests host an incredible array of wildlife. Gorillas, forest elephants, and secretive creatures seldom seen by human eyes. In the capital, Brazzaville, music and cultural vibrancy endure, a testament to the Congolese spirit. Chapter 48. Côte d'Ivoire, Kingdoms of Gold and Cocoa. Nestled on the Gulf of Guinea, Côte d'Ivoire once housed the medieval empires of Gyaman and Kong, trading gold and cola nuts across West Africa. The French turned it into a colony, exporting coffee and cocoa, crops that made the nation an economic powerhouse after independence in 1960. Political challenges, civil wars, and leadership transitions have tested Ivorians. Yet from the bustling metropolis of Abidjan to traditional festivals in the north, a creative energy thrives, reflected in vibrant art, music, and a renewed commitment to unity. Chapter 49. Djibouti, Gateway of the Red Sea. Strategically perched where the Red Sea meets the Indian Ocean, Djibouti has long been a crossroads for trade among Africa, the Middle East, and beyond. Historically inhabited by the Afar and Issa peoples, the region fell under French control in the late 19th century as French Somaliland. Independence arrived in 1977, birthing a small yet pivotal nation. Djibouti's volcanic deserts and salt lakes, like Lake Assal, one of the world's saltiest bodies, contrast with the bustling port of Djibouti. Enduring clan ties, Islam, and a maritime legacy shape a land-bridging continents. Chapter 50. Egypt. Gift of the Nile. No place on earth conjures ancient wonder like Egypt. Millennia ago, the Nile's fertile banks nurtured a civilization whose pyramids, mummies, and hieroglyphs still captivate humanity. Pharaohs ruled from Memphis and Thebes, building monumental temples that stand guard over the Sahara's edge. Persian, Greek, Roman, and Arab conquests left their marks, culminating in an Islamic golden age centered in Cairo's medieval quarters. Modern Egypt gained independence from British rule in 1922, forging a tumultuous path through monarchy, revolution, and pan-Arab dreams. Chapter 51. Equatorial Guinea, where Spanish meets Fang traditions. The only African nation with Spanish as an official language, Equatorial Guinea sits on the Gulf of Guinea, encompassing both mainland Rio Muni and islands like Bioko. Fang, Bubi, and other ethnic groups inhabited these lands long before Portuguese, then Spanish colonization. Independence arrived in 1968, but political repression has persisted. Vast offshore oil discoveries brought newfound wealth, though unevenly distributed. In traditional villages, ceremonial dances and ancestral rites endure, whispered through the forests and ocean breezes of this complex island mainland nation. Chapter 52. Eritrea. Red Sea Crossroads. On the Red Sea's western shore, Eritrea was shaped by the ancient kingdom of Aksum and trade routes linking Africa with Arabia. Ottoman, Egyptian, and Italian occupiers later vied for control of these strategic coasts. After Wabupu, Eritrea was federated with Ethiopia, leading to a long war for independence that finally ended in 1993. The young nation's struggle forged a strong sense of identity amidst regional tensions. In the capital, Asmara, Italian-era Art Deco buildings stand testament to a layered past. Across dusty highlands and coral reefs, Eritreans hold fast to a heritage forged through resilience. Chapter 53. Eswatini, Swaziland. Kingdom in the mountains. Tucked between South Africa and Mozambique, Eswatini, formerly Swaziland, is one of Africa's last absolute monarchies. The Swazi people, led by their kings, trace their lineage to the 18th century, repelling Zulu incursions and European encroachment. The British recognized Swazi independence under protectorate status until 1968, when the kingdom reasserted its sovereignty. Traditional celebrations like the Umhlanga Reed dance highlight a culture proud of its monarchy and traditions. While modernization pressures grow, the rolling hills and friendly communities of Eswatini remain deeply rooted in custom. Chapter 54. Ethiopia, Land of Origins. In the Horn of Africa, Ethiopia's story stretches back to ancient times. The kingdom of Aksum minted coins, traded with Rome, and adopted Christianity in the 4th century. Legends link Ethiopia to the Queen of Sheba and the Ark of the Covenant. Unique among African nations, it was never fully colonized, repelling Italian invasion at the Battle of Adwa in 1896. Under Emperor Haile Selassie, Ethiopia modernized, though political upheavals led to revolutions and famines. Today, Ethiopia showcases remarkable diversity, over 80 languages spoken across highland churches and lowland plains. It remains a beacon of African heritage and resilience. Chapter 55. Gabon. Rainforests and oil riches. Gabon's equatorial forests cradle an astonishing wealth of wildlife. Forest elephants, gorillas, and exotic birds. Lush ecosystems that once nurtured diverse Bantu-speaking peoples. The French took control in the 19th century and independence came in 1960. Gabon discovered oil reserves soon afterward, transforming Libreville into a modern capital. Despite wealth disparities, the nation invests in conservation, with national parks safeguarding wildlife. Traditional rituals and masks crafted by groups like the Fang reveal a spiritual connection to the forest, hinting at the deeper identity Gabon holds beyond its oil-rich facade. Chapter 56. The Gambia, Smiling Coast of Africa. Africa's smallest mainland nation, the Gambia follows the meandering Gambia River inland from the Atlantic. Long a trading corridor for gold, ivory, and enslaved people, the region fell under British rule in the 19th century. Independence in 1965 paved the way for a republic overshadowed by political tensions, yet buoyed by tourism and peanut exports. Visitors are drawn to golden beaches, vibrant markets, and kora-driven music. From the legacy of Alex Haley's roots in Jufure village to the bustling capital of Banjul, the Gambia embraces its title as the Smiling Coast of Africa. Chapter 57. Ghana, Gold Coast Renaissance. Dubbed the Gold Coast by European traders, Ghana's lands were home to powerful states like the Ashanti Empire, famed for gold and the Golden Stool. Britain consolidated its hold in the late 19th century, but visionary leaders such as Kwame Nkrumah spearheaded the drive to independence in 1957, making Ghana a trailblazer for African liberation. Today, the legacy of colonial forts stands along the coastline, reminders of the painful Atlantic slave trade. Yet Ghana's modern renaissance thrives in Accra's bustling markets, bold art scenes and Afrobeat music rooted in centuries of proud heritage. Chapter 58. Guinea, where rivers begin. Nestled at the headwaters of West Africa's major rivers, Guinea earned its nickname as the Water Tower of Africa. Empires like Ghana, Mali, and Songhai once touched its highlands. French colonization shaped Guinea from the 1890s until 1958, when Ahmed Sékou Touré famously said no to continued French influence, embracing a solitary path. Under subsequent regimes, Guineans endured political turbulence, yet the land's fertile fields and mineral wealth hold vast promise. From the Fulani herdsmen in the Fouta Djallon highlands to the vibrant port of Conakry, Guinea's cultural streams flow strong. Chapter 59. Guinea-Bissau, Rivers of Kora and Kashu. Along the Atlantic coast, Guinea-Bissau's mangrove-lined rivers wind through the homeland of the Balanta, Papel, and other peoples. Portuguese explorers arrived in the 15th century, establishing a slave trade outpost. Independence, led by Amilcar Cabral, came in 1973-74, heralding hopes of unity. But political instability soon followed. Despite challenges, traditional music, often accompanied by the Kora and Afro-Portuguese Creole languages, persist. The Bihagos Islands off the coast maintain a matriarchal tradition, echoing a deep cultural fabric that remains defiantly alive amid modern pressures. Chapter 60. Kenya, From Cradle of Mankind to Modern Hub. In the Great Rift Valley of Kenya, fossil discoveries remind us of humanity's ancient origins. Millennia later, the Swahili coast flourished through Indian Ocean trade, blending African, Arab, and Persian influences. British colonization in the late 19th century met resistance, culminating in the Mau Mau uprising for independence. Since self-rule in 1963, Kenya has emerged as an East African powerhouse, championing conservation efforts in the Masai Mara and beyond. From high-tech hubs in Nairobi to tribal traditions among the Maasai and Samburu, Kenya is a mosaic of tradition and modernity, set against sweeping savannas. Chapter 61. Lesotho, A Kingdom Among the Clouds. Enveloped entirely by South Africa, the mountainous kingdom of Lesotho sits high above sea level. In the early 19th century, King Moshoeshoe Pwins united Basotho clans against regional threats. British protection spared it from the Boer conflicts that reshaped southern Africa. Independence in 1966 restored sovereignty. Lesotho's people cling to their highland traditions, donning the iconic Basotho blanket and Mokorotlo hat. With a rugged terrain that funnels fresh water to neighboring lands, Lesotho is a modest yet proud kingdom, its mountaintops echoing stories of resilience. Chapter 62. Liberia, America's Shadow in Africa. Founded in the early 19th century by freed African American slaves, Liberia stands unique among African nations for escaping European colonization. The settlers, known as Americo-Liberians, established Monrovia and a system often excluding indigenous groups. Independence was declared in 1847, making Liberia the continent's oldest republic. Yet decades of tension erupted into brutal civil wars in the 1990s and early 2000s. Post-war Liberia strives for reconciliation, uplifted by the resilience of communities and the example of Africa's first female president, Ellen Johnson Sirleaf. Chapter 63. Libya, Desert Kingdom of Empires. Sweeping deserts, Mediterranean shores, and ancient trade routes define Libya's story. Berber tribes lived here long before Phoenician merchants founded coastal outposts like Carthage. Greek cities dotted Cyrenaica, while the Romans left imposing ruins at Leptis Magna. Ottoman rule gave way to Italian colonization in the 20th century. Independence arrived in 1951 under King Idris, until a 1969 coup brought Muammar Gaddafi's long regime. The Arab Spring of 2011 ignited civil strife, challenging Libya's unity. Still, the Saharan sands hide silent echoes of past empires, and coastal cities look to rebuild for a hopeful tomorrow. Chapter 64. Madagascar, Island of Lemurs and Legends. Drifting off Africa's southeast coast, Madagascar evolved a world of its own. Lemurs, baobab trees, and countless endemic species. Austronesian settlers arrived by boat over 1,000 years ago, later mingling with African and Arab traders. Kingdoms arose, culminating in the Merina monarchy, which dominated much of the island until French colonization in 1896. Independence in 1960 rekindled a diverse heritage reflecting Southeast Asian and African roots. Modern Madagascar balances ecological wonders, like the avenue of the baobabs and rainforests bursting with biodiversity, with cultural diversity molded by Austronesian and Bantu roots. Though economic hurdles loom, Malagasy communities model resilience, rallying around local markets and creative arts. Their stewardship of nature and celebration of tradition reflect a conviction that each unique heritage is an irreplaceable treasure. Chapter 65. Malawi, the warm heart of Africa. Surrounding the shimmering Lake Malawi, this compact nation is famed for its kindness and communal spirit. Bantu migrations shaped local kingdoms until British colonial forces combined them into Nyasaland. Independence in 1964, led by Hastings Banda, saw Malawi forge a distinct path in education and healthcare. Cultural celebrations revolve around dance, drumming, and the lively tunes of local festivals. Fishermen cast their nets at dawn, while children play by the lake's crystal waters. Amid poverty and healthcare challenges, Malawians embrace one another with unwavering warmth. Here, sincerity and generosity take center stage, reminding the world that compassion is the bedrock of true development. Chapter 66. Mali, Empire of Timbuktu. Few names evoke the golden age of West Africa like Mali. The medieval empire of Mali, crowned by Timbuktu's legendary wealth and learning, rose under rulers such as Mansa Musa, whose pilgrimage to Mecca dazzled the world. Centuries later, French conquest incorporated these Sahelian lands into French Sudan. Independence in 1960 restored Mali's autonomy, yet desertification, political strife, and insurgencies have challenged stability. Still, the cultural heritage remains strong, from the Timbuktu manuscripts to the melodic chords of the Kora. Mali's legacy as a crossroads of scholarship and trade endures in each sand-swept corner of the Sahel, with communities clinging to hope and unity despite ongoing struggles. Chapter 67. Mauritania, desert and the edge of the Atlantic, between the Sahara Dunes and the Atlantic Ocean, Mauritania balances Arab, Berber, and sub-Saharan influences. Nomadic tribes once traversed caravan routes linking North and West Africa, carrying salt and gold. French colonization in the 20th century ended with independence in 1960. Yet modern Mauritania grapples with issues of slavery's legacy and economic disparity. Its desert landscapes reveal ancient towns like Chinguetti, where centuries-old libraries hold Islamic texts. Within this vast arid land, the call to prayer still rings across desert winds, uniting hearts in a timeless rhythm. Communities stand firm against harsh natural conditions, preserving faith and hospitality as pillars of strength. Chapter 68. Mauritius, multicultural jewel in the Indian Ocean. Long uninhabited, Mauritius welcomed Arab, Portuguese, and Dutch explorers before France and then Britain took control. Sugar plantations run by enslaved Africans and indentured laborers from India shaped the population's diversity. Independence in 1968 paved the way for a stable democracy renowned for economic progress. Sega music and dance reflect a Creole heritage enriched by Indian, Chinese, and European threads. Pristine beaches, coral reefs, and the iconic chamarel-colored earth invite visitors to embrace the island's natural wonders. Yet behind its postcard beauty, Mauritius unites tradition and innovation, forging a society that celebrates both linguistic fusion and ambitious modernization. Chapter 69. Morocco. At the crossroads of Andalusia and Sahara, at Africa's northwest corner, Morocco has long been a crossroads of civilizations. Berber tribes, Phoenician merchants, Roman legions, and Arab conquerors all left their mark. Over centuries, powerful dynasties like the Almoravids and Almohads erected mosques, palaces, and medinas that still bustle today. The French and Spanish established protectorates in the early 20th century, until independence in 1956. Modern Morocco balances tradition and innovation, from the labyrinthine souks of Marrakesh and Fez to the modern sprawl of Casablanca. A renewed emphasis on women's rights and economic reforms shapes its future, even as traditional music, crafts, and cuisine remain firmly woven into daily life. Chapter 70. Mozambique, Swahili. Shores and Portuguese ties. For centuries, Swahili city-states, Arab traders, and Bantu kingdoms thrived along Mozambique's coastline before the Portuguese arrived in 1498. Colonization led to centuries of forced labor and exploitation, culminating in independence in 1975 and a subsequent civil war. Peace accords in the early 1990s enabled Mozambique to rebuild. Today, the nation's cultural tapestry blends African, Arab, and Portuguese influences. Marabenta music animates gatherings, while local markets offer spicy dishes rich with peri-peri flavor. Young entrepreneurs bring innovation to Maputo, and conservationists protect marine life along the Indian Ocean. Through cooperation and grit, Mozambicans rise above a tumultuous history, embracing a shared vision for tomorrow. Chapter 71. Namibia, the land of brave warriors. Namibia's stark beauty stretches from the Namib Desert's towering dunes to wildlife-rich Etosha National Park. German colonial rule in the late 19th century brutalized Herero and Nama peoples, culminating in early 1900s atrocities now recognized as genocide. After WWI, South Africa took over until Namibia's 1990 independence. Despite this painful legacy, Namibians forged one of Africa's more stable democracies. Ecotourism thrives in Sossusvlei's rust-colored dunes, where oryx tread, and on the remote Skeleton Coast. Diamond mining and fishing bolster the economy, while traditions like storytelling and tribal music preserve cultural bonds. Namibia stands as a testament to recovery through self-determination, fortitude, and respect for nature. Chapter 72. Niger, Caravan Routes of the Sahara. Straddling the Sahel and the Sahara, Niger's expanse once guided salt caravans and trade from the medieval Songhai Empire. French colonization imposed new borders until independence in 1960. The land's arid climate and frequent droughts pose major challenges, prompting efforts to develop irrigation and sustainable farming. The annual Cure Saleh festival in the town of Ingal sees Tuareg and Wadabe nomads celebrate heritage with camel races, traditional attire, and intricate face painting. With poverty and desertification looming, many Nigerians persist through agricultural ingenuity and a deep-rooted sense of community. Their resilience in a stark environment exemplifies the human ability to adapt and endure. Chapter 73. Nigeria. Giant of Africa, over 200 million people call Nigeria home, making it Africa's most populous nation. Historic kingdoms like Benin and Oyo showcased advanced governance, art, and trade, while the Sokoto Caliphate flourished in the north. British colonial rule ended in 1960, though ethnic and religious divisions have since tested unity. Today, Nigeria's economy is driven by oil, agriculture, and a booming entertainment sector. Nollywood ranks among the world's largest film industries. Lagos, a mega city on the Atlantic, pulses with tech startups and entrepreneurial zeal. Nigerian music, from Afrobeat to Afrobeats, resonates globally, and youth activism spurs social reforms. Creativity, hustle, and boundless energy define a nation poised to shape Africa's future. Chapter 74. Rwanda. A phoenix rising, rolling hills, fertile valleys, and gorilla-inhabited rainforests make Rwanda seem idyllic, yet 1994 brought a devastating genocide against the Tutsi, one of humanity's darkest episodes. Rising from this horror, Rwanda underwent reconciliation and reconstruction, evolving into one of Africa's cleanest, safest nations. Kigali's skyline reflects economic progress, with a focus on education, women's empowerment, and technology. Volcanoes National Park shelters mountain gorillas, symbolic of conservation success. Traditional dances, imigongo art, and a strong sense of community underscore Rwanda's resilience. The country's journey from trauma to transformation remains an inspiring example of how political will and unity can restore hope after unimaginable loss. Chapter 75. São Tomé and Príncipe, Chocolate Islands. This two-island nation in the Gulf of Guinea lay uninhabited until Portuguese explorers arrived in the late 15th century. Plantations for sugar and cocoa thrived through enslaved labor, leading to a Creole culture shaped by African and European strands. Independence in 1975 introduced a new chapter for Africa's second smallest country. Fertile volcanic soil still produces cocoa famed for high quality. Fishing sustains coastal communities, while ecotourism beckons visitors to lush rainforests and pristine beaches. Fayal music, lively festivals, and the warmth of rosas, old plantation houses, embody the spirit of São Tomé and Príncipe, a place that retains its gentle pace while striving for growth and environmental stewardship. Chapter 76. Senegal. Rhythm of the Wolof Coast. Perched on Africa's westernmost tip, Senegal historically served as a gateway for trans-Saharan and Atlantic trade. Empires like Tekrur and Jolof predated French colonization, which ended in 1960. Under poet-president Léopold Sédar Senghor, Senegal championed negritude, celebrating black identity and heritage. In modern Dakar, music thrives, from the Mbalax rhythms popularized by Youssou N'Dour to cutting-edge rap and Afrofusion. Teranga, or hospitality, remains a unifying cultural value, bridging diverse ethnicities like Wolof, Serer, and Pular. With stable governance and a growing tech scene, Senegal aspires to balance tradition, art, and innovation in forging a prosperous future. Chapter 77. Seychelles. Paradise in the Indian Ocean, an archipelago of 115 islands northeast of Madagascar, the Seychelles remained largely uninhabited until French planters arrived in the 18th century, bringing enslaved Africans. British control followed, lasting until independence in 1976. Now a multi-ethnic society, Seychellois reflect African, French, Indian, and Chinese roots. Tourists flock to beaches fringed with granite boulders and turquoise waters harboring coral reefs. Conservation efforts protect species like the giant Aldabra tortoise and rare birds in Vallée de Mai. Sega and Mautya dance infuse local festivities with energy, while Creole cuisine merges spice with French flair. Seychelles exemplifies how a small nation can prioritize ecological stewardship and cultural vibrancy. Chapter 78. Sierra Leone. The Lion Mountain and its freedmen Portuguese explorers named this rugged mountainous coast Serra Leoa, Lioness Mountain, in the 15th century. Later, British abolitionists established Freetown in 1787 as a haven for freed slaves, forging a community that valued liberty above all. Despite such hopeful roots, civil war in the 1990s, fueled by blood diamonds, tore the country apart. In post-conflict years, Sierra Leone has worked to rebuild, focusing on education, healthcare, and sustainable diamond mining. Rich cultural traditions persist, from boo-boo music to the storytelling of griots. Communities unite at local markets and fishing villages along pristine shores. Though scars linger, Sierra Leone's enduring spirit of reconciliation and hope shines as brightly as the diamonds that once brought sorrow. Chapter 79. Somalia. Land of poets and pirates straddling the Horn of Africa, Somalia's history reaches back to ancient city-states and caravan routes linking Africa, Arabia, and beyond. Clan-based societies herded camels, prized oral poetry, and navigated trade by dhow. European colonizers carved up the region, resulting in British and Italian territories that joined as independent Somalia in 1960. Civil war and state collapse soon followed. Amid ongoing instability, Somali diaspora communities send back remittances that fuel local businesses, schools, and hospitals. Traditional Islamic scholarship coexists with Sufi ceremonies and a deep love of poetic traditions. Hope persists in grassroots projects, community leadership, and a resurgent emphasis on unity after decades of conflict. Testament to a culture resilient through adversity. Chapter 80. South Africa. Rainbow Nations Struggle. South Africa's story spans early hominid fossils in the cradle of humankind to the complex modern democracy known as the Rainbow Nation. Dutch settlers, Boers, arrived in the 17th century, followed by British colonists, shaping a segregated society culminating in the apartheid era. Resistance by figures like Nelson Mandela and the sacrifices of countless activists ended apartheid in 1994, ushering in multiracial democracy. Today, South Africa remains a mosaic of 11 official languages, vibrant townships, world-class vineyards, and a sophisticated urban culture in Johannesburg and Cape Town. Deep economic divides linger, but creative arts, sport, particularly rugby and soccer, and a robust civil society inspire ongoing efforts to heal historical wounds. The Rainbow Nation's journey testifies that even entrenched inequality can be confronted through collective resolve. Chapter 81. South Sudan. A young nation's quest. Emerging from decades of civil war in Sudan, South Sudan became the world's newest nation upon its 2011 independence. Its vast floodplains, grasslands, and the White Nile sustain Nilotic groups like the Dinka and Nuer, who value cattle herding and strong clan bonds. Early euphoria gave way to internal strife in 2013, fueling new humanitarian crises. Yet local leaders and youth groups champion peace-building, agricultural initiatives, and education. The determination to craft a more stable state endures in village gatherings where elders pass on oral histories and in Juba's nascent entrepreneurial scene. Against a backdrop of adversity, South Sudanese cling to communal solidarity, symbolizing hope for future generations. Chapter 82. Sudan. Kingdoms. Along the Nile. Stretching from the Sahara to the lush south, Sudan was once dominated by the powerful kingdom of Kush, rivals to ancient Egypt. Centuries of Islamic rule and Ottoman influence led to British-Egyptian control until independence in 1956. Post-colonial Sudan experienced prolonged civil wars, culminating in South Sudan's secession in 2011. Conflicts in Darfur and other regions continued. Yet from Khartoum to Port Sudan, Sufi music gatherings, Nubian heritage, and local artistry offer bright cultural expressions. The Meroe pyramids stand testament to advanced civilizations along the Nile. Calls for democratic reform persist, propelled by a youthful generation determined to transcend the cycle of conflict and harness Sudan's historical resilience. Chapter 83. Tanzania. From Kilimanjaro to Zanzibar. Home to Africa's highest peak, Mount Kilimanjaro, and the Serengeti's iconic wildlife migrations, Tanzania brims with ecological wonders. Coastal Swahili cultures interacted with Arab and Persian merchants for centuries, while German and British colonization shaped modern boundaries. Tanganyika merged with Zanzibar to form Tanzania in 1964 under Julius Nyerere's Ujamaa socialism. Swahili unifies over 120 ethnic groups, underscoring a strong sense of shared identity. Tourists flock to Stone Town's spice markets and the vast plains of Ngorongoro Crater. Although facing challenges in infrastructure and poverty, Tanzania's hospitality, cultural dances, and enduring tribal customs underscore how unity and tradition can thrive amid modernization. Chapter 84. Togo. The Togolese mosaic, formerly part of the German colony of Togoland, then partitioned between the British and French after WWE, Togo declared independence under French administration in 1960. Iwe, Kabye, and other ethnic groups shaped the national tapestry, weaving voodoo rites, exuberant festivals, and distinctive crafts. Despite political turbulence, Togolese showcase resilience through small enterprises, fashion design, and a spirited music scene. Lomé's port fosters trade, while inland communities preserve ancestral customs. Balancing tradition with innovation, Togo strives for social cohesion, proving that even a small strip of land on the Gulf of Guinea can chart an ambitious course forward. Chapter 85. Tunisia. Carthage. Reborn. On the sun-soaked Mediterranean coast, Tunisia once hosted the ancient city of Carthage, a fierce rival to Rome. Conquerors followed: Romans, Vandals, Byzantines, Arabs, Ottomans, and the French, until independence in 1956. In 2010-2011, Tunisia ignited the Arab Spring, inspiring democratic movements across the region. Today, Tunisia balances a vibrant youth culture with proud Islamic traditions. Its Medinas bustle with artisans creating intricate tile work, copperware, and textiles. Roman mosaics and the iconic amphitheater at El Jem recall a rich past, while reforms aim for gender equality and civil freedoms. The synergy of old and new fuels Tunisia's evolving identity, Carthage reborn, striving to realize its full promise. Chapter 86. Uganda. The Pearl of Africa. Dubbed the Pearl of Africa by Winston Churchill, Uganda boasts natural splendors. From the lush Rwenzori Mountains to Lake Victoria, Africa's largest lake. Kingdoms like Buganda and Bunyoro shaped governance before British colonial rule. After independence in 1962, Uganda suffered under regimes like Idi Amin's, which left deep scars. Modern Uganda pursues reconciliation and growth, leveraging agriculture, ecotourism, and a young population. Bwindi impenetrable forest hosts endangered mountain gorillas, emblematic of biodiversity conservation. Meanwhile, Kampala's cultural scene fuses vibrant music, dance, and street foods. Despite lingering challenges, Ugandans project warmth and optimism, affirming that healing and prosperity can bloom from a turbulent past. Chapter 87. Zambia. Smoke. That thunder Zambia, formerly Northern Rhodesia under British colonial rule, gained independence in 1964, led by Kenneth Kaunda. At its heart roars Victoria Falls, Mosi Oatunya, the smoke that thunders, a UNESCO World Heritage Site that mesmerizes visitors. Indigenous Bantu groups, like the Bemba and Lozi, nurtured agricultural and trade networks before colonization. Copper mining underpins the modern economy, though diversification into tourism and agriculture grows. Ubuntu creativity resonates in local crafts, music, and an emerging entrepreneurial scene. Community cooperation remains vital, as illustrated in tribal ceremonies and harvest festivals. Through shared purpose and cultural pride, Zambians shape a stable, optimistic future. Chapter 88. Zimbabwe. Great Stones and Great Hopes. Taking its name from Great Zimbabwe, a medieval city of towering stone walls, Zimbabwe's past glistens with advanced Shona civilization. British colonization under Cecil Rhodes established Rhodesia, and a bloody liberation struggle culminated in independence in 1980. Post-colonial Zimbabwe contended with economic crises and authoritarian leadership. Stone sculpture, mbira music, and communal gatherings embody ancient traditions that remain vibrant. Tourist attractions include Victoria Falls, Mana Pools, and the remnants of Great Zimbabwe's majestic architecture. Though ongoing challenges test optimism, Zimbabweans harness an enduring cultural unity to reclaim stability, seeking a future worthy of their proud heritage. Chapter 89. Afghanistan. Valleys of Resilience. Afghanistan's rugged terrain, carved by the towering Hindu Kush, has witnessed empires and conquerors passing through the ages, from Alexander the Great to the Silk Road traders. Historically, great cities like Balkh and Herat thrived as centers of learning and culture, bearing the imprint of Persian, Mongol, and Mughal influences. Despite decades of conflict in modern times, Afghans embody a remarkable resilience deeply rooted in tribal unity and hospitality. In the bustling bazaars of Kabul and Kandahar, merchants trade spices, carpets, and bright textiles. Villagers in isolated valleys share stories over cups of green tea, forging tight bonds that defy hardship. Today, many Afghans dream of reviving the ancient crossroads of commerce and scholarship that once made their homeland a beacon of possibility. Their unwavering will to rebuild stands as a testament that hope can endure even in the hardest landscapes. Chapter 90. Armenia. Land of Biblical Mountains. Nestled in the South Caucasus, Armenia is often called the world's first Christian nation, adopting Christianity as a state religion in the early 4th century. Legends abound of Noah's Ark resting on nearby Mount Ararat, now a national symbol. Throughout history, Armenians have preserved a vibrant culture through the rise and fall of empires, from the Persians to the Ottomans. Stroll through Yerevan, the Pink City, to witness Soviet-era architecture blending with new creative spaces and cafe culture. Meanwhile, medieval monasteries perch on cliff edges, echoing with ancient chants. Though Armenians have faced hardships, most notably the tragic events of the early 20th century, they carry forward a spirit of unity and diaspora-driven revival. Their deep hospitality and passion for art, music, and wine underscore an enduring faith in renewal and identity. Chapter 91. Azerbaijan. Where fire meets the Caspian, Azerbaijan, known as the Land of Fire, straddles Eastern Europe and Western Asia with a cultural tapestry influenced by Turkic, Persian, and Russian legacies. Its ancient Zoroastrian fire temples and the mud volcanoes of Gobistan symbolize a land shaped by natural wonders. Over centuries, caravan routes brought trade and cosmopolitan ideas to cities like Baku, now a modern capital punctuated by futuristic architecture. Despite tumultuous periods, including Soviet rule, Azerbaijan embraces a fast-developing economy fueled by oil and gas. You'll find UNESCO-listed sites, like the old city of Baku, standing alongside the iconic flame towers. Whether sipping aromatic tea in a traditional caravanserai or attending contemporary art exhibitions, Azerbaijanists celebrate a dual identity, honoring heritage while forging an ambitious global outlook. Their fire is more than just a symbol, it's the driving spark of transformation. Chapter 92. Bahrain, Pearl of the Gulf. A small archipelago in the Persian Gulf, Bahrain boasts a history interwoven with the pearl trade that once made its waters famous. Ancient Dilmun civilization thrived here, trading copper and precious goods with Mesopotamia. Today, modern skyscrapers in Manama reflect a nation increasingly known for finance and tourism. Yet Bahrainis take pride in preserving cultural treasures, from the UNESCO-listed Bahrain Fort to centuries-old pearling trails. Traditional Majlis gatherings, where guests are welcomed with coffee and sweet dates, reflect the warmth at the heart of Gulf society. Against the backdrop of modern economic shifts, Bahrain stands as a reminder that even a small island can shine when it balances its ancient roots with a forward-looking embrace of technology and hospitality. Chapter 93. Bangladesh, Delta of Possibilities. Cradled by the fertile delta of the Ganges and Brahmaputra rivers, Bangladesh boasts lush greenery that supports one of the world's densest populations. Once part of ancient Bengal empires renowned for weaving the legendary muslin cloth, the region has weathered colonial rule and the tumult of independence in 1971. Today, Bangladesh surges ahead with a booming textile industry, microfinance innovations, and a commitment to women's empowerment. Its bustling capital, Dhaka, brims with rickshaws and teeming markets, while the Sundarbans mangrove forest shelters Royal Bengal tigers. Although challenges like climate change persist, Bangladeshis display an unwavering spirit. Their communal resilience, evident in everything from disaster response to entrepreneurial ventures, reveals how a nation shaped by water can keep finding new shores of hope. Chapter 94. Bhutan. The Himalayan Kingdom of Happiness. High in the Himalayas, the Kingdom of Bhutan remains deeply rooted in Buddhist principles. Rather than measuring success purely by GDP, Bhutan famously prioritizes gross national happiness, blending tradition and modern governance. Age-old monasteries cling to cliff faces like the iconic tiger's nest, while prayer flags flutter over misty valleys. Bhutan's careful approach to tourism and environmental preservation ensures that modern development moves at a measured pace. Locals don the go and kira, weaving culture into daily life with pride. Despite its small size, Bhutan's story resonates far beyond its borders, inspiring the world to consider that well-being, cultural identity, and harmony with nature are the truest currencies of a flourishing society. Chapter 95. Brunei, Abode of Peace. Tucked on the northern coast of Borneo, Brunei is a small yet wealthy sultanate steeped in Malay Islamic heritage. Once part of a vast empire that controlled regional trade routes, Brunei later shaped its destiny through oil reserves discovered in the 1920s. This petroleum wealth has afforded citizens high living standards and robust social services. Yet the Sultanate also preserves pristine rainforests teeming with biodiversity. Traveling along the Brunei River, you'll find kampong-style water villages perched on stilts, echoing centuries of tradition. In the capital, Bandar Seri Begawan, mosques with glittering domes stand side by side with modern infrastructure. Bruneians champion the concept of a peaceful, pious community, offering a glimpse into how tradition and prosperity can weave together for societal well-being. Chapter 96. Cambodia, Kingdom, Rising from the Mekong at the heart of Southeast Asia, Cambodia hosts the awe-inspiring Angkor Wat, the largest religious monument in the world. Reminders of the once mighty Khmer Empire. French colonialism and the brutal Khmer Rouge era tested Cambodians' spirit. Yet in the bustling streets of Phnom Penh and Siem Reap, you'll find a population embracing resurgence. Young entrepreneurs launch startups and social enterprises, while traditional Apsara dance troupes keep cultural heritage alive. Cambodia's countryside, nourished by the Mekong, supports rice paddies and floating villages. Although the past left deep wounds, Cambodians exhibit remarkable optimism, drawing on their cultural pride and the vibrant Angkor legacy to forge a future of hope and shared prosperity. Chapter 97. China. A civilization of dynasties and dreams. Sprawling across East Asia, China's recorded history stretches back thousands of years, marked by influential dynasties, Han, Tang, Ming, and Qing, and profound cultural achievements like gunpowder, papermaking, and the compass. Today, the nation is an economic powerhouse, with megacities like Shanghai and Shenzhen spearheading innovation, while rural areas still reflect ancient customs. A walk along the Great Wall or through the Forbidden City evokes images of emperors and scholars dedicated to Confucian ideals. Simultaneously, modern China embraces cutting-edge technology, from AI to high-speed rail networks. Through continuous transformation, rural reforms, urban expansions, and global exchanges, China demonstrates how an unbroken line of tradition can thrive in tandem with relentless modernization. Chapter 98. Cyprus, where continents converge. Though geographically in West Asia, Cyprus often bridges Europe and the Middle East culturally and politically. Ancient Greeks, Romans, Byzantines, and Ottomans have all claimed this sunny island over millennia, each leaving relics in the form of ruins, churches, and mosques. Its strategic location made it a nexus of trade and a crossroads of civilizations. While Cyprus has endured divisions since the 1970s, many Cypriots seek reunification and cultural harmony. Tourists marvel at pristine beaches and UNESCO-protected sites like the painted churches of Troodos. Cypriot cuisine, blending Greek, Turkish, and Levantine flavors, reflects the island's multicultural DNA. Through music festivals and community dialogues, the islanders forge paths toward unity, reminding us that reconciliation is a journey nourished by shared heritage and open hearts. Chapter 99. Georgia, balconies overlooking the Caucasus. Straddling Eastern Europe and Western Asia, Georgia sits at the foot of the Caucasus Mountains, celebrated for its 8,000-year-old winemaking tradition. Legend says that Jason and the Argonauts journeyed here in search of the Golden Fleece. Over centuries, medieval kingdoms and empires clashed, leaving Georgia a crossroads of Orthodox Christianity, Persian influences, and Soviet legacies. Yet Tbilisi's colorful balconies, perched over winding streets, now host cafes and art galleries, buzzing with youthful energy. The ancient practice of polyphonic singing echoes in hillside villages, while the hearty supra, feast, fosters unity among families and neighbors. Through reforms and tourism, Georgians work diligently to strengthen their democracy and economy, convinced that the warmth of their culture and the grandeur of their mountains can guide them toward a flourishing tomorrow. Chapter 100. India, a subcontinent of kaleidoscopic dreams. Stretching from the snow-capped Himalayas to the tropical shores of Kanyakumari, India dazzles with diversity. An ancient civilization gave birth to Hinduism, Buddhism, and countless philosophies, leaving behind monumental wonders like the Taj Mahal and Nalanda University's ruins. Colonized by the British for nearly 2 centuries, India emerged in 1947 as the world's largest democracy. In modern India, cutting-edge technology coexists with sacred rituals along the Ganges. Bollywood's cinematic spectacles mirror the color and drama of daily life, while chai stalls on every corner symbolize a thriving entrepreneurial spirit. Through challenges such as rapid urbanization and social inequality, Indians channel resilience and innovation. Their collective commitment to pluralism and progress resonates in myriad languages, beliefs, and identities. A grand tapestry forever in motion. Chapter 101. Indonesia, Archipelago of Unity in Diversity. The world's largest archipelago nation, Indonesia spans thousands of islands across the Indian and Pacific Oceans. Ancient kingdoms like Srivijaya and Majapahit once ruled maritime trade routes here, fostering Hindu-Buddhist cultural marvels such as Borobudur and Prambanan. Today, this Muslim-majority country embraces Pancasila, 5 principles that unite over 300 ethnic groups under the motto Bhinneka Tunggal Ika, unity in diversity. From the buzzing streets of Jakarta to the serene rice terraces of Bali, Indonesian life blends modern hustle with ancestral rituals. Pop music fuses local instruments, while spicy street foods and aromatic spices recall a proud legacy of international commerce. Navigating volcanic eruptions and economic shifts, Indonesians remain steadfast in forging communal harmony, a mosaic where every cultural tile sparkles with shared purpose. Chapter 102. Iran. The Persian Legacy Unfolding. Iran's cultural tapestry stretches back to the grand Achaemenid Empire of Cyrus the Great, whose palaces at Persepolis once dazzled the ancient world. Persian influence gave rise to iconic contributions, exquisite carpets, romantic poetry by Rumi and Hafez, and striking architectural marvels like Isfahan's Shah Mosque. Waves of invasion, from Alexander to the Mongols, interwove new threads into Iran's vibrant identity. Despite modern political complexities and decades of sanctions, Iranians push forward, bolstered by a deep sense of heritage and a thirst for global engagement. Young innovators in Tehran launch startups, while artists reimagine traditional motifs for contemporary audiences. In tea houses and bazaars, age-old hospitality endures. Iran's story exemplifies how a land of profound history can continuously adapt, forging new paths without losing its poetic soul. Chapter 103. Iraq, Cradle of Civilization. Iraq is often hailed as the birthplace of civilization, where ancient Mesopotamian cities like Uruk and Babylon first introduced writing, law codes, and irrigation. The Tigris and Euphrates rivers nurtured empires, from the Sumerians to the Abbasid Caliphate, whose capital, Baghdad, thrived as a global center of learning in the Islamic Golden Age. Modern Iraq has weathered turmoil, multiple wars, sanctions, and sectarian divisions. Yet the archaeological sites of Nineveh and Nimrud still whisper stories of greatness. Today, a new generation in places like Erbil and Basra seeks to rebuild amid challenges. Through art, literature, and the determination to restore historical treasures, Iraqis remind the world that even in the darkest valleys, the echo of ancient brilliance can guide a nation back toward unity and prosperity. Chapter 104. Israel. Innovations in the Holy Land. In a narrow strip between the Mediterranean Sea and the deserts of the Middle East, Israel's modern state was founded in 1948, yet the region's history extends millennia, pivotal to Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. Jerusalem's old city resonates with sacred shrines, while the storied Sea of Galilee and fortress of Masada recall ancient events. Israel's economy has grown into a renowned tech hub, startup nation, sparked by robust R&D and an innovative spirit. Cities like Tel Aviv pulse with contemporary art and multicultural cuisine. Political tensions persist, but Israel's cultural patchwork, ranging from Sabra farmers to Ethiopian Jewish communities, showcases resilience in forging a future shaped by education and invention. Their story is a testament that, amid complex realities, forward-looking ideas can thrive and unite. Chapter 105. Japan. Harmony in tradition and technology. Japan's history threads together samurai lore, refined court cultures, and centuries of isolation that ended in the mid-19th century. Over time, Japanese artisans honed crafts like tea ceremony, bonsai, and kabuki theater, while Shinto shrines and Buddhist temples dot the landscape. Post-Witu, Japan rose swiftly to global economic power, pioneering electronics, automobiles, and robotics. From neon-lit Tokyo to the serenity of Kyoto's temple gardens, Japan balances stoic tradition with futuristic progress. Cherry blossoms each spring remind the nation of life's fleeting beauty and the importance of renewal. Chapter 106. Jordan. Crossroads of Antiquity. Situated at the crossroads of the Levant, Jordan boasts Petra, an ancient Nabatean city carved into rose-red cliffs that once controlled caravan routes between Arabia and the Mediterranean. Over centuries, Roman legions and Islamic caliphates ruled these lands, leaving behind desert castles and Christian mosaics in Madaba. Modern Jordan is a stable haven in a turbulent region, known for welcoming waves of refugees and hosting them with generosity. From bustling Amman's cultural festivals to the serene beauty of the Wadi Rum Desert, Jordanians uphold a tradition of hospitable tolerance. Their ability to preserve archaeological treasures and cultural harmony reaffirms that bridging past and present can elevate a nation's sense of shared destiny. Chapter 107. Kazakhstan. Steppe of Transitions. Vast steppes blanket Kazakhstan, a transcontinental nation that once saw the rise of Turkic nomads and the Mongol Empire. Soviet incorporation introduced industry and large-scale agriculture, transforming Almaty and Nur-Sultan, Astana, into vibrant centers. Post-independence in 1991, Kazakhstan charted a path of market reform and modernization. Alongside shimmering high-rises in the capital, yurt camps and eagle-hunting traditions preserve the spirit of nomadic heritage. Kazakh identity weaves together Muslim roots, Russian influences, and an eagerness to connect with global markets. As the heart of Eurasia, Kazakhstan aspires to serve as a cultural and economic bridge. It testifies that from the open steppe can come grand opportunities, where ancient customs and new ambitions converge under limitless skies. Chapter 108. Kuwait. Prosperity. By the Gulf. Kuwait's fortunes trace back to seafaring families who once dominated pearl diving and maritime trade. Following the discovery of oil in the 20th century, this Gulf state soared in prosperity, erecting modern infrastructure and a robust welfare system. Kuwait City's skyline, punctuated by the Kuwait Towers, symbolizes a balance between tradition and contemporary life. Though the Gulf War in 1990 brought immense challenges, Kuwait rebounded with resilience. Today, a strong parliamentary tradition sets it apart among neighboring monarchies. Its people celebrate cultural heritage through Diwaniya gatherings, where families and friends debate issues over tea. Kuwait showcases that wealth, when coupled with social investments and open discourse, can foster a society that values tradition while confidently facing the future. Chapter 109. Kyrgyzstan. Epic land of the Tian Shan. Cradled by the soaring Tian Shan Mountains, Kyrgyzstan brims with alpine lakes, winding valleys, and nomadic traditions. The Kyrgyz people historically roamed with herds of horses and sheep, weaving the Manas epic, a poem chronicling their heroic lineage. Soviet rule structured collective farms and reshaped the capital, Bishkek. Yet independence in 1991 revived interest in nomadic heritage. Today, yurts dot the shores of Lake Issyk-Kul, and festivals showcase Kokboru, a polo-like game. Despite economic and political ups and downs, Kyrgyz communities foster heartfelt hospitality and a love of open skies. Their story celebrates the freedom of the highlands, reminding us that cultural identity can endure even through sweeping transformations. Chapter 110. Laos, serene land of 1,000,000 elephants. Known historically as Lan Xang, the land of 1,000,000 elephants, Laos retains a gentle atmosphere where the Mekong River meanders past limestone cliffs and saffron-robed monks. Over centuries, Thai, Khmer, and French influences intermingled with local traditions. Communist rule took hold in 1975, isolating Laos for decades, yet preserving its distinct charm. Tourists to Luang Prabang rise at dawn to give alms to silent monks, experiencing the peaceful devotion that shapes Lao life. Untouched forests and quiet towns stand in contrast to the swirling modernization of neighboring states. Even as new economic opportunities arise, like hydropower and tourism, Laotians maintain a measured pace, valuing communal bonds and the spiritual calm that lingers in every temple courtyard. Chapter 111. Lebanon, Cedars and Cultural Renaissance. Lebanon's small geography belies its historical significance as a center of Phoenician civilization, maritime trade, and later a mosaic of Christian and Islamic influences. Beirut, often called the Paris of the Middle East, thrived culturally until civil war ravaged the nation from 1975 to 1990. Even since, the city pulses with nightlife, art exhibitions, and intellectual exchange, representing resilience forged in adversity. From the ancient ruins of Baalbek to the mountainous villages where cedars still stand, Lebanon's identity spans religious and ethnic lines. Despite political and economic challenges, Lebanese entrepreneurs and diaspora networks fuel reconstruction efforts. Their renowned cuisine, music, and festival culture reflect a life-affirming spirit. The cedars symbolize both Lebanon's ancient legacy and its potential for rebirth, a reminder that deep roots can endure even in rocky soils. Chapter 112. Malaysia. Harmony. Amid urban skies, Malaysia's diversity flows from centuries of Malay sultanates, Chinese and Indian migrant labor, and British colonial legacies. Today, the country divides between peninsular Malaysia and the states of Sabah and Sarawak on Borneo, each region steeped in distinct cultural traditions. Kuala Lumpur's Petronas Towers pierce the skyline, underscoring rapid economic growth. Yet you also find rich biodiversity, rainforests teeming with orangutans, vibrant coral reefs off Sipadan, and UNESCO-listed Georgetown's multicultural heritage. Malaysians celebrate a mosaic of festivals, Hari Raya, Chinese New Year, Deepavali, and more, reflecting a shared ethos of tolerance. Their journey demonstrates how forging national unity out of multiple identities can be an asset, turning cultural variety into a true tower of strength. Chapter 113. Maldives. Coral Kingdom in the Indian Ocean. Scattered like sparkling jewels across the turquoise Indian Ocean, the Maldives consist of nearly 1,200 coral islands forming atolls. Long a waypoint for Arab traders, the nation cultivated a proud Islamic identity. Post-independence in 1965, tourism blossomed, transforming remote islets into luxury resorts. Rising sea levels from climate change threaten the Maldives' very existence. Yet Maldivians persist with innovative solutions, floating structures, coral reef restoration, and green policies. Beneath swaying coconut palms, fishermen still cast traditional nets, while modern speedboats ferry visitors to white sand beaches. This juxtaposition of fragility and resilience illuminates the Maldivian heart, resolute, creative, and determined to safeguard paradise for generations to come. Chapter 114. Mongolia. Empire on the Eternal Steppe. Nomadic herders have roamed Mongolia's grasslands for millennia, yet none looms larger in history than Genghis Khan, who united warring tribes to forge the largest contiguous land empire in the 13th century. Over centuries, Buddhism and Manchu rule followed, until Mongolia secured independence in 1921, transitioning from Soviet-style communism to democracy in the 1990s. Modern Ulaanbaatar weaves tradition into city life, with yurts, gers, nestling beside glass towers. Festivals like Naadam honor horse racing, wrestling, and archery, pillars of nomadic identity. In the wide-open steppe, herders still move with the seasons, embodying a proud heritage of self-reliance. Mongolia's story underscores that even amidst shifting political landscapes, a culture anchored by open horizons and shared heritage can adapt without losing its soul. Chapter 115. Myanmar, Burma. Golden pagodas and complex roads. Myanmar, rich with over 100 ethnic groups, was once the seat of powerful kingdoms that built grand temples at Bagan. British colonial rule, followed by decades of isolation under military juntas, left deep imprints. Yet Shwedagon Pagoda in Yangon still gleams in gold, and communities unite around Buddhist rituals that shape social life. Recent political transformations, though uneven, opened Myanmar to the world. Entrepreneurs, activists, and artists in Mandalay and Yangon strive to preserve cultural identity amid modernization. Cuisine blending Indian, Chinese, and Thai elements delights visitors, while rural tribes maintain unique languages and fabrics. Despite ongoing struggles, Myanmar's tapestry of traditions and its pursuit of a more equitable future reflect a quietly determined hope lighting the path forward. Chapter 116. Nepal, where gods and mountains meet. Nepal, sandwiched between India and China, rises from subtropical plains to the towering Himalayas, hosting 8 of the world's tallest peaks, including Mount Everest. Legendary mountain kingdoms, some claiming divine origins, have inspired religious pilgrimages for Hindu and Buddhist devotees. The monarchy ceded power in 2008, ushering in a new republic era. Kathmandu's ancient temples stand alongside vibrant backpacker enclaves, brimming with mountaineers and wanderers. Sherpa communities, skilled at high-altitude living, exemplify resilience and spirituality. Though earthquakes and infrastructure hurdles challenge development, Nepalese rely on communal unity to rebuild. The Himalayan horizon beckons adventurers and pilgrims alike, reminding them that in lofty dreams and spiritual grounding, hope can indeed move mountains. Chapter 117. North Korea. Shadows and Traditions. Officially named the Democratic People's Republic of Korea, DPRK, North Korea remains one of the world's most isolated states, with a governmental ideology of Juche, emphasizing self-reliance. Partitioned from South Korea at the end of Woiwoo, the country has since developed nuclear capabilities alongside rigid state control. Despite these complexities, North Koreans share ancestral traditions akin to their southern neighbors, such as Confucian social values, kimchi-based cuisine, and folk arts. Family ties and national pride run deeply. Though information flow is tightly regulated, stories from defectors and glimpses of Pyongyang's choreographed spectacles reveal a population shaped by discipline and a strong sense of collective identity. The faint stirrings of cultural exchange hint that behind barriers, the human desire for connection endures. Chapter 118. Oman, Jewel of the Arabian Peninsula. From dramatic desert dunes to the rocky fjords of the Musandam Peninsula, Oman encapsulates the diverse landscapes of the Arabian Peninsula. The Sultanate once thrived on frankincense and maritime trade routes, stretching its influence to East Africa. Under Sultan Qaboos, who began ruling in 1970, Oman transformed from isolation to a modern state, prioritizing infrastructure and education. Today, Oman's souks overflow with silverware, frankincense, and vibrant textiles, while wadis, valleys, invite hikers to discover hidden oases. The nation's moderate, friendly diplomacy in a turbulent region underscores a deep cultural emphasis on hospitality and dialogue. Proud of their ancient maritime legacies, Omanis see in each new generation an opportunity to blend tradition and progress, shining as a serene anchor on the Gulf Coast. Chapter 119, Pakistan, Indus Heritage and Unbreakable Spirit. Pakistan embraces a tapestry of cultures shaped by the Indus Valley civilization, among the oldest urban centers in history. Successive waves of Persian, Greek, Mughal, and British influences introduced diverse religions, languages, and architecture. Gaining independence in 1947, Pakistan navigated migration crises and ongoing regional tensions. Yet Pakistanis champion progress in science, the arts, and sports. Startup incubators multiply in Karachi and Lahore, while Sufi festivals in Punjab unite communities in spiritual ecstasy. Towering peaks in Gilgit-Baltistan call mountaineers from around the world, reflecting the country's natural grandeur. Even amid economic and political challenges, Pakistan's cohesive family bonds and unstoppable resilience highlight how a shared faith in potential can carry a nation onward. Chapter 120, Philippines, Islands of Faith and Festivity. Comprising over 7,000 islands, the Philippines merges Malay, Spanish, American, and indigenous influences. Roman Catholicism, introduced by Spanish colonizers, coexists with pre-colonial traditions and a Muslim-majority region in Mindanao. Vibrant festivals, like the Sinulog and Ati-Atihan, fill streets with drumbeats, color, and a palpable joy. Today, Manila throbs with a youthful, tech-savvy population, while overseas Filipino workers send back remittances that bolster the economy. Karaoke, basketball, and a deeply rooted sense of family define daily life. The Philippines regularly faces natural disasters, typhoons, earthquakes, volcanic eruptions. Yet each time, communities rebuild with remarkable fortitude. This archipelago stands as proof that faith, unity, and love of celebration can spark hope stronger than any storm. Chapter 121, Qatar, Vision, Shaped by the Desert. A peninsula jutting into the Persian Gulf, Qatar transitioned from a small pearl diving community to one of the world's richest countries per capita, thanks to natural gas reserves. Under the leadership of the ruling Al Thani family, modern Doha emerged, a skyline of sleek towers rising from what was once barren coastline. Yet Qatari culture remains anchored in Bedouin traditions. The Majlis hosts endless cups of Arabic coffee, camel races retain their cultural flair, and souks bustle with merchants hawking spices and embroidered textiles. Although criticized for labor conditions, Qatar invests heavily in infrastructure and education, seeking sustainable growth and global sporting events like the FIFA World Cup. Through these ambitions, Qatar highlights how desert roots and futuristic architecture can converge to shape a new identity on the global stage. Chapter 122, Russia, Asian Part, Expanses of the Far East. While Russia is transcontinental, its Asian territories dwarf the European side, stretching from the Ural Mountains across Siberia to the Pacific. Once home to nomadic tribes and Cossack explorers, this region endured harsh winters and gulags during Soviet times. Post-Soviet Russia has struggled with economic shifts, yet cities like Vladivostok hum with renewed trade, bridging East Asia and Moscow. Siberia's vast taiga and Lake Baikal, the world's deepest freshwater lake, house unique ecosystems. Indigenous peoples like the Yakut and Buryat maintain linguistic and cultural traditions amid resource extraction challenges. Modern infrastructure projects, including the Trans-Siberian Railway, symbolize connectivity across a staggering distance. This fusion of wilderness and industry illustrates Russia's determination to harness its colossal Asian frontier for both heritage preservation and strategic growth. Chapter 123, Saudi Arabia, Desert Kingdom at a Crossroads. Home to Islam's holiest sites in Mecca and Medina, Saudi Arabia draws millions of pilgrims each year. Once a patchwork of tribal territories, the modern kingdom emerged in 1932 under King Abdulaziz Al Saud. Oil discoveries soon transformed the region's fortunes, reshaping desert outposts into booming metropolises like Riyadh. Saudi Arabia now embarks on economic diversification and social reform, investing in mega-projects such as NEOM and encouraging cultural events once unthinkable. Traditional norms coexist with global influences seen in music festivals and eased restrictions on women's roles. As the kingdom balances Islamic heritage, tribal identity, and modern aspirations, it stands at a historic crossroads, poised to redefine its future while retaining a link to the desert's ancient pulse. Chapter 124. Singapore. City. State of tomorrow. From a humble fishing village to a global financial hub, Singapore's rise stands as an emblem of strategic governance and multicultural harmony. Once part of the British colony of Malaya, it became an independent city-state in 1965. Under the visionary leadership of Lee Kuan Yew, Singapore invested heavily in education, infrastructure, and a business-friendly environment. Today, towering skyscrapers complement the lush greenery of gardens by the bay. Chinese, Malay, Indian, and Eurasian communities mesh in hawker centers, forging one of the world's most celebrated street food cultures. With minimal corruption and a can-do ethos, Singapore continues shaping tomorrow's city living, innovating in technology, transport, and sustainable urban development. This unstoppable drive resonates with the idea that discipline and diversity can fuse to craft a shining global beacon. Chapter 125. South Korea, Republic of Korea. Land of the morning calm. Rising, for centuries the Korean peninsula nurtured a refined court culture under dynasties like Joseon, producing Hangul script, Confucian traditions, and elaborate royal palaces. Devastated by the Korean War in the mid-20th century, South Korea ascended from poverty to become an industrial and technological powerhouse, leading global brands like Samsung and Hyundai. Seoul's neon arteries power one of Asia's most advanced digital economies, while K-pop superstars like BTS spread cultural influence worldwide. Confucian respect for education endures, fueling innovation in robotics and AI. Beyond the urban bustle, hanoks, traditional homes, and mountain temples remind Koreans of their deep roots. This fusion of tradition and high-tech grit exemplifies a national drive that overcame division to script its own success story. Chapter 126. Sri Lanka. Teardrop of the Indian Ocean. Sri Lanka's location off India's southern tip shaped centuries of maritime trade, from the spice routes of Arab merchants to European colonization by the Portuguese, Dutch, and British. Known as Ceylon until 1972, this island proudly claims one of the world's oldest Buddhist traditions, visible at the Temple of the Tooth in Kandy. Recent decades saw a prolonged civil war that ended in 2009, leaving behind wounds still healing. Yet the island's natural beauty, from lush tea plantations in the hill country to golden beaches, drives a bustling tourism sector. Whether savoring a cup of fragrant Ceylon tea or witnessing wild elephants in national parks, visitors sense the people's warmth and determination. Sri Lankans steadily chart a path of reconciliation and sustainable development, forging unity from shared heritage and hospitality. Chapter 127. Syria. Archaeological palimpsest of civilizations. In ancient times, Syria's Damascus and Aleppo were among the oldest continuously inhabited cities, central to caravan routes and home to Aramaic-speaking communities. The region has seen Assyrian, Hellenistic, Roman, Umayyad, and Ottoman influences, each leaving architectural marvels. Tragically, the civil war since 2011 has devastated historical treasures and displaced millions. Still, Syrians worldwide, and those who remain, clutch memories of bustling souks and the melodic call of muezzins echoing through jasmine-scented streets. Amid strife, pockets of cultural revival persist, preserving music, crafts, and a longing for normalcy. Their determination underlines that a land so steeped in history can never truly lose hope. Even scarred by conflict, Syria's timeless soul refuses to fade. Chapter 128. Tajikistan. Peaks of Tradition. Mountainous Tajikistan nestles in Central Asia, home to the Pamir Range, often called the Roof of the World. The Tajik people are culturally linked to the Persian world, cherishing the poetry of Rudaki and the storied city of Penjikent. Soviet governance reshaped rural life, but independence in 1991 brought fresh challenges, including civil war in the 1990s. Yet the country's majestic alpine lakes, like Iskanderkul, and scenic high passes continue to enchant travelers, reminding them of Tajikistan's breathtaking heritage. Traditional instruments like the dutar resonate at festivals, weaving communal bonds. Young entrepreneurs now explore tourism, craft revival, and tech. Their ascent through adversity recalls the determination needed to scale a rugged mountain, certain the summit glimmers with promise. Chapter 129. Thailand, Kingdom of Smiles. Southeast Asia's only nation never colonized by European powers, Thailand, historically known as Siam, has long cherished its monarchy and Theravada Buddhist traditions. The Grand Palace in Bangkok, floating markets on the Chao Phraya River, and the spiritual calm of temple complexes reflect a culture that merges color, devotion, and legendary hospitality. From the northern hill tribes near Chiang Mai to the southern beaches in Phuket, Thai society balances agricultural roots with thriving tourism. Even amid political ups and downs, the economy buzzes with creativity, spawning everything from globally acclaimed cuisine to savvy startups. Thais uphold the notion of sanuk, fun or enjoyment, as a guiding principle, proving that a sense of joy can sustain growth and unify a richly diverse land. Chapter 130. Timor-Leste, East Timor. Rising from struggle. Occupying the eastern half of Timor Island, Timor-Leste was once a Portuguese colony, later annexed by Indonesia in 1975. After decades of conflict, a UN-backed referendum in 1999 paved the way for full independence in 2002, making it one of the world's newest countries. The dramatic coastlines and mountainous interior reflect both natural beauty and the scars of a turbulent past. Despite facing poverty and limited infrastructure, Timorese people persist in nation-building. Youth programs and grassroots organizations nurture education, agriculture, and cultural preservation. Markets showcase Portuguese influence in architecture and language, mingling with indigenous customs. Timor-Leste's story encourages us to believe that, through unity and dedication, even the newest nations can grow a hopeful legacy on freshly tilled soil. Chapter 131. Turkey. Bridge between continents. Straddling Europe and Asia, Turkey bears the legacy of Hittites, Byzantines, and the Ottoman Empire. Istanbul, once Constantinople, enthralls visitors with the Hagia Sophia's lofty dome and the Grand Bazaar's labyrinth. Secular reforms under Ataturk forged a modern republic in 1923, driving industrial and social change. Today, Turkey emerges as a regional power, bridging east-west commerce via the Bosphorus. Bustling markets brim with Turkish coffee, baklava, and carpets, while tech hubs in Istanbul and Ankara incubate new enterprises. Even amid political complexities and cultural crossroads, Turks remain proud of their mosaic heritage: Islamic, Christian, European, and Central Asian. Their sense of hospitality and enduring ambition highlight how bridging divides can become a nation's defining strength. Chapter 132. Turkmenistan. Sands of the Karakum. Turkmenistan occupies much of the Karakum Desert, shaped by Silk Road routes linking the ancient cities of Merv and Urgench. Persian, Seljuk, and Soviet overlords each colored Turkmen culture, which prizes fine carpets and equestrian sports. Independence arrived in 1991, but strict state control and isolation continue. Ashgabat, the capital, glistens with white marble, while rural communities maintain traditions, like celebrating the Akal Teka horse, renowned for its metallic sheen. Although international engagement is minimal, Turkmens quietly foster their artistic tapestry. The desert may seem harsh, yet a fierce pride in heritage and hospitality keeps these sands from swallowing their aspirations for a more open tomorrow. Chapter 133. United Arab Emirates. Skyline of Dreams. Formed in 1971 from the Trucial States, the UAE soared to global prominence with oil wealth and forward-thinking governance. Dubai's skyline, crowned by the Burj Khalifa, is a symbol of futuristic ambition. Once a dusty fishing port, now a hub for finance, real estate, and tourism. Meanwhile, Abu Dhabi balances tradition with innovations in renewable energy. Though known for luxurious malls and man-made islands, the UAE also preserves Emirati customs, falconry, date farming, and desert majlis gatherings. Expat communities from around the globe mingle with locals, forging an exceptionally diverse population. From the sweeping dunes of Liwa to high-tech architecture, the UAE embodies a bold ethos, aiming for the stars without forgetting the cultural roots that anchor each step forward. Chapter 134. Uzbekistan. Silk Road. Revival sitting at the heart of Central Asia, Uzbekistan cradles legendary Silk Road cities, Samarkand, Bukhara, and Khiva, where turquoise domes and intricately tiled madrasas once greeted caravans carrying spices and knowledge. Under Soviet rule, agriculture was collectivized, focusing heavily on cotton. Independence in 1991 opened new opportunities, though political freedoms remained restricted for years. Today, Uzbekistan invests in tourism and modernization, restoring ancient mosques and fortresses. An emerging generation of entrepreneurs revitalizes crafts like Suzani embroidery, while youth champion digital platforms to share Uzbek culture with the world. The aroma of pluff, rice pilaf, and the echo of centuries-old poetry rekindle a Silk Road spirit, illuminating how intercultural exchange remains the key to reimagining the region's golden era. Chapter 135. Vietnam. Phoenix of Southeast Asia. Vietnam's cultural identity arose from wet rice agriculture along the Red River Delta, forging dynasties that resisted Chinese control. French colonialism later extracted rubber and resources, until the Vietnam Wars of the mid-20th century left deep scars. Yet, since economic reforms, Doi Moi, began in 1986, Vietnam has transformed, showcasing remarkable development in sectors like manufacturing and IT. Hanoi's Old Quarter mingles French-influenced architecture with street food stalls, while Ho Chi Minh City buzzes with startups and motorbikes. Ancient Confucian traditions intersect with youthful creativity, exemplified by rising art scenes and global cultural exchanges. From terraced rice paddies in Sapa to the lush Mekong Delta, the Vietnamese spirit of endurance resonates. Their flight from adversity to aspiration testifies that resilience can indeed forge new horizons. Chapter 136. Yemen. Land of Myth and Mountains. Perched at the southern end of the Arabian Peninsula, Yemen's layered history includes the fabled Queen of Sheba and ancient incense trade routes. The old city of Sana'a, with its multi-story mud brick homes and intricate geometric designs, is a UNESCO treasure. Yet modern Yemen grapples with prolonged conflict, humanitarian crises, and a fragmented political landscape. Despite dire conditions, Yemenis fiercely defend their family bonds and cultural values. Traditional dagger belts, coffee ceremonies, and poetry gatherings sustain communal spirit. Organizations on the ground strive to restore basic services and preserve heritage amid war. This unwavering commitment to tradition and the dream of stability reflects a culture deeply tied to its rugged highlands, quietly strong, waiting for peace to allow them to blossom once again. Chapter 137, Palestine, partially recognized. Palestine, including the West Bank and Gaza Strip, traces back millennia in a region central to Abrahamic religions. The area fell under Ottoman and then British Mandate control before conflicts shaped modern borders and displacements. Despite political tension and fragmentation, Palestinians maintain a strong cultural identity expressed in embroidery, tattrees, dabka dance, and enduring family traditions. Daily life often unfolds against a backdrop of complex checkpoints and economic challenges. Yet creative voices flourish. Musicians, entrepreneurs, and activists strive to carve out a future of hope. Children in refugee camps learn ancestral tales, carrying a collective yearning for peace. Their persistence underscores the universal aspiration for a homeland where heritage can shine freely, even amid struggle. Chapter 138. Australia. Sunburnt land of opportunities. Occupying an entire continent, Australia brims with contrasts. The ancient spirituality of the Aboriginal peoples, vibrant coastal cities like Sydney and Melbourne, and a scorching outback teeming with resilient wildlife. Long before European arrival, Aboriginal communities nurtured the land through practices deeply woven into Dreamtime stories, cosmic narratives passing knowledge across millennia. Today, Australia is a dynamic multicultural society, famous for laid-back beach culture, globally ranked universities, and sporting excellence. Tech hubs flourish in urban centers, while farmers in the bush produce world-class wine and agriculture. Aussies proudly embrace a fair-go mindset, championing egalitarianism and the communal spirit of mateship. In bridging the oldest living cultures with a bold entrepreneurial streak, Australia shows how to harness vast natural gifts in the service of progress, unity, and a bright tomorrow. Chapter 139. Fiji. Melodies of the South Pacific, composed of over 300 islands, Fiji enchants travelers with palm-fringed beaches, cerulean seas, and a warm, Bula spirit that echoes in every village. Descendants of Melanesian and Polynesian ancestors settled here thousands of years ago, developing rich oral traditions, warrior customs, and intricate communal bonds. Colonial influence and subsequent independence in 1970 set Fiji on a path of nation-building. Today, Fijians cultivate tourism, sugarcane farming, and artisanal handicrafts like tapa cloth, celebrating a deep sense of community known as koro. Ceremonial yakona, kava, drinking brings neighbors together, reinforcing respect for elders and guests alike. Despite challenges from cyclones to political transitions, Fiji radiates a spirit of adaptation. Its people embody the notion that genuine hospitality and unity can transform any archipelago into a global beacon of joy. Chapter 140. Kiribati. Guardians of the Rising Sea. Scattered across 33 atolls in the Central Pacific, Kiribati, pronounced Kiribati, once thrived on copra trade and fishing in remote lagoons. Known for centuries to Polynesian and Micronesian voyagers, these islands witnessed missionary arrivals and colonial rule under the British. Achieving independence in 1979, Kiribati faces modern challenges as some of the world's lowest-lying islands threatened by climate change. Even so, the Kiribati remains steadfast. Their Maniaba, community meeting house, fosters consensus-based leadership, while traditional dancing, with outstretched arms mimicking seabirds, captures the harmony between people and ocean. Kiribati champions global climate advocacy, emphasizing that small island states can raise a mighty voice for environmental stewardship. Their determination underscores a broader truth. When a community stands firm to protect its homeland, its spirit becomes unshakable, like coral surviving the tides. Chapter 141. Marshall Islands. Journeys of Resilience. Spread across 29 coral atolls and 5 islands in Micronesia, the Marshall Islands hold an oceanic heritage dating back 2 millennia. Renowned navigators built canoes and stick charts to map currents and swells, voyaging with uncanny precision across the vast Pacific. Under the shadow of 20th century nuclear testing at Bikini Atoll, Marshallese communities faced upheaval and displacement. In recent decades, however, a resurgence of cultural pride has taken root. Youth learn the art of outrigger canoe building, reviving the storied skill of reading the waves. Citizens also advocate for nuclear justice and lead global discussions on sea level rise. For the Marshallese, the ocean is both home and ally, guiding them to anchor hope in ancient knowledge and pressing for change on the world stage, thus forging resilience in every break of the surf. Chapter 142. Federated States of Micronesia. Threads of Tradition. Comprising 4 main states: Yap, Chuuk, Pohnpei, and Kosrae. The Federated States of Micronesia, FSM, weave a tapestry of distinct languages, customs, and island geographies. Long before Spanish explorers arrived, islanders engaged in expansive trade networks, with Yap famously using large stone money, RAE, to mark wealth and alliances. Under U.S. trusteeship post-World War II, FSM gained independence in 1986 through a compact of free association. Today, Micronesians navigate both local subsistence, fishing, taro cultivation, canoe building, and modern opportunities like tourism and education grants abroad. Communal values remain strong. Local gatherings revolve around dancing, feasting, and storytelling under star-lit skies. By celebrating each island's uniqueness while sustaining unity as a federation, Micronesians prove that diversity can be a central pillar in forging a shared destiny. Chapter 143. Nauru. The island that soared and strove. Once known for possessing some of the world's richest phosphate deposits, tiny Nauru experienced dramatic economic highs during the mid-20th century. Traditional village life gave way to rapid modernization, leading to dreams of a glamorous future. However, resource depletion and environmental damage soon cast challenges over the island. In response, Nauruans have endeavored to rebuild, turning focus to education, offshore financial services, and sustainable solutions. Despite its constrained size, a single 21-square-kilometer island, Nauru's cultural roots in weaving, fishing, and communal gatherings persist. Nauruans are strong, they often say, referring to their pride in overcoming obstacles. Even in the face of limited land and resources, their example shows how community spirit and creative resilience can guide a nation toward renewed horizons. Chapter 144. New Zealand. Aotearoa. Land of the Long White Cloud. Maori voyagers, revered as bold navigators, reached Aotearoa centuries before European arrival, cultivating intricate traditions like the haka and the concept of kaitiakitanga, guardianship of the land. British colonization in 1840 formalized relations via the Treaty of Waitangi, sparking centuries of complex cultural interchange. Modern New Zealand stands globally recognized for its stunning landscapes: snow-capped mountains, fjords and rolling farmlands, and a vibrant, diverse society. From Auckland's cosmopolitan pulse to Te Reo Maori Renaissance, Kiwis champion inclusion, sustainability, and a fair social framework. They also make waves in rugby, film, think Peter Jackson's cinematic achievements, and technology startups. New Zealand's story affirms that honoring indigenous knowledge, Welcoming new voices and safeguarding nature can forge a powerful national identity reverberating far beyond Pacific shores. Chapter 145. Palau. Pristine paradise and progressive protection. Palau's more than 300 islands showcase lush volcanic terrain, limestone rock islands, and biodiverse reefs. With a heritage of matrilineal clans and bai, meeting houses, Palauans have historically resolved disputes through consensus and deep respect for nature. After shifting colonial administrations, Palau became independent in 1994 under a compact of free association with the U.S. Today, Palau is lauded for pioneering marine conservation. The Palau National Marine Sanctuary, one of the largest protected areas on the planet, demonstrates bold stewardship, an effort to preserve fish stocks, coral reefs, and the local tourism-based economy. In cultural gatherings, Palauans retell legends that underline the ocean's sacred role, instilling pride in a modern generation determined to show the world that small island nations can lead fearlessly on environmental reforms. Chapter 146. Papua New Guinea, where 800 tongues sing. Papua New Guinea, PNG, is a mosaic of diversity, boasting over 800 distinct languages across mountainous jungles, coastal lowlands, and island communities. Agricultural practices here date back 9,000 years, while leadership often followed a big man system that balanced gift-giving, alliances, and clan autonomy. Post-independence in 1975, PNG navigated a path that interlaces local customs with contemporary governance. From the flamboyant headdresses of the Highlands Sing-Sings to the canoe-building artistry of Milne Bay, PNG's cultural pride thrives in ceremonial gatherings. Natural resource development, gold, copper, timber, fuels economic prospects, yet challenges remain around infrastructure and environmental management. Still, Papua New Guineans champion family, tradition, and adaptability. Through centuries of cultural fusion, they illustrate that even in a land of countless tongues, a common spirit of resilience can resonate as loud as any conch shell echoing in the forested valleys. Chapter 147. Samoa, cradle of Polynesian culture. Historically known as the Navigator Islands, Samoa was a springboard for Polynesian explorers spreading across the Pacific. Village life revolved around the Fa Samoa, the Samoan way, emphasizing respect for elders, matai, communal feasts, and the protective presence of Christianity introduced in the 19th century. After colonial shifts, Samoa became the first Polynesian nation to reclaim independence in 1962. Samoans celebrate time-honored dances, siva, lively umu, earth oven feasts, and communal ceremonies. Warm laughter and heartfelt welcomes greet visitors, embodying the motto Samoa Mo Samoa, a spirit of self-determination. Even as diaspora communities grow worldwide, Samoans honor ancestral ties through tattoos, tatau, and close-knit family relationships. Their testament lies in the fusion of tradition and innovation, reminding the region that anchored identity can flourish on a global stage. Chapter 148. Solomon Islands, echoes of wartime and culture. Stretching from Bougainville to Tuamotu, the Solomon Islands encompass nearly 1,000 isles scattered across the Pacific. Oral histories recount headhunting and complex trading networks before European contact. Wotu battles left deep imprints as Guadalcanal turned into a major theater of conflict. Independence in 1978 heralded self-governance, though ethnic tensions posed challenges in later decades. Amid coral reefs hosting kaleidoscopic fish, Solomon Islanders maintain a subsistence lifestyle, fishing, gardening, crafting shell money, and uphold clan-based structures that resolve disputes. Cultural festivals spotlight panpipe music and woven art. Concerned about rising sea levels and the need for economic diversification, Solomon Islanders highlight the principle of wantok, a support system uniting extended families and friends. Their unwavering sense of community underscores how archipelagos, scattered as they may be, can unite under a shared identity and nurture solidarity. Chapter 149. Tonga, the last Polynesian kingdom. Known as the Friendly Islands, Tonga remains the only Pacific nation never fully colonized, retaining a Polynesian monarchy dating back 1,000 years. Archaeological remains of the Ha'amanga, a Maui trilithon, reveal an ancient society skilled in construction, while local genealogies record lineage across centuries of seafaring prowess. Modern Tongans balance royal ceremonies, Christian faith, and global connections, with many families overseas sending remittances home. Feasts of roast pig, taro, and coconut are integral to celebrations, echoing a culture that bonds around kinship and generosity. When cyclones strike, Tongans rebuild together, embodying a resilience shaped by a proud heritage. Their message to the world? Even the smallest kingdom can stand tall, preserving tradition while welcoming worldly influences. Chapter 150. Tuvalu, tiny nation with a towering voice. Tuvalu's 9 atolls, some of the planet's most remote, cling to narrow ridges barely above sea level. Polynesian ancestors settled these islands centuries ago, forging strong communal ties to endure isolation. Today, Tuvalu's population hovers around just 11,000, yet their voice resounds in global climate debates. Village life beats steadily with fishing, taro gardening, and weaving pandanus mats for cultural ceremonies. Perhaps ironically, the internet domain .tv has brought Tuvalu additional revenue, bridging the country to the digital world. Under the looming threat of rising seas, Tuvaluans resolutely affirm their right to remain on their ancestral land. Their unyielding message, no matter how tiny a place might be, it can still champion the future of our shared planet. Chapter 151. Vanuatu, Islands of Living Culture. A Y-shaped archipelago of volcanic islands, Vanuatu, formerly the New Hebrides, lies in Melanesia, blending Polynesian, Melanesian, and European influences. Long before joint British-French rule, Ni Vanuatu communities followed indigenous governance systems steeped in custom, a living tradition shaping clan relationships, land rights, and spiritual rights. Since independence in 1980, Vanuatu has embraced tourism and agriculture, particularly kava, coconut, and cocoa, and worked to bolster resilience against cyclones and earthquakes. Cultural festivals burst with color, featuring ram dances, sand drawing, and rhythmic drumming. Ni Vanuatu hold dear the concept of wanolgeta, oneness, binding them in solidarity even across 80-plus islands. Their vibrant ceremonies, communal values, and readiness to adapt to challenges underscore an oceanic truth. Unity and tradition can illuminate paths forward for generations to come. Oceania's 14 nations end at Chapter 151. Next, Europe's recognized states from 152 to 195. Chapter 152. Welcome to Europe, a continent of heritage and innovation. We now arrive in Europe, a compact but remarkably diverse continent where medieval castles overlook bustling metropolises and cutting-edge art scenes thrive beside centuries-old cathedrals. Europe has been at the crossroads of empires, revolutions, and renaissances, shaping science, philosophy, politics, and culture worldwide. Here you'll discover how ancient Roman roads and Viking voyages paved the way for modern rail lines and entrepreneurial hubs, how royal dynasties gave rise to constitutional democracies, and how local folk traditions intermingle with global influences to redefine what it means to be European. Join us in traversing these 46 sovereign states, each weaving its unique threads into Europe's grand tapestry. Chapter 153. Albania, land of the eagles. Cradled between the Adriatic and Ionian seas, Albania is known locally as Shqipëri, or Land of the Eagles. Illyrian tribes, Roman rule, and Ottoman dominion shaped its cultural mosaic for centuries. In the 20th century, Albania endured an isolated communist regime that only ended in the early 1990s. Today, a youthful energy reinvigorates Tirana, the capital, with colorful facades, lively cafes, and digital startups blooming. From the UNESCO-listed town of Berat, nicknamed the City of 1,000 Windows, to the rugged peaks of the Albanian Alps, the nation embraces tourism, organic agriculture, and a resilient spirit of self-determination. Albanians honor deep familial bonds, at once preserving the memory of past struggles while forging an optimistic future as they open doors to the rest of the world. Chapter 154. Andorra, a haven in the Pyrenees. Nestled high in the Pyrenees between France and Spain, Andorra is one of Europe's smallest states, historically governed by two co-princes, the French president and the Spanish Bishop of Urgell. For centuries, Andorrans sustained themselves through pastoral farming and smuggling goods across rugged mountain passes. Modern Andorra has transformed into a haven of duty-free shopping, ski resorts, and a flourishing tourism sector. Medieval stone villages dot alpine valleys where Catalan culture resonates in language and tradition. Despite its petite size, Andorra projects a welcoming hospitality, reminding visitors that even a tiny principality can stand tall when driven by community pride, environmental care, and centuries of peaceful coexistence. Chapter 155. Austria, waltzing through imperial splendor. Once the center of the Austro-Hungarian Empire, Austria retains imperial echoes in Vienna's grand boulevards, Baroque palace, and famed coffee houses. The waltzes of Johann Strauss and compositions of Mozart and Schubert still imbue the country's essence with timeless charm. Yet beyond Vienna's elegance, Austria shines with alpine vistas perfect for skiing, hiking, and ecotourism. Bolstered by a robust social system and thriving industries, from automotive parts to biotech, Austrians value a high quality of life. Regional traditions, dirndl dresses, brass bands, local festivals coexist seamlessly with global innovation. Balancing imperial legacies with forward-thinking policies, Austria shows that cultural preservation and modern dynamism can move gracefully in step, like dancers in a grand Viennese ball. Chapter 156. Belarus, crossroads of Eastern Europe. Bordered by giants like Russia and Ukraine, Belarus has long stood as a crossroads in Eastern Europe. Its history wends through medieval principalities, the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth, and the Soviet era. Minsk, the capital, was rebuilt almost entirely after World War II, shaping the city's wide avenues and monumental Soviet-style architecture. In rural areas, centuries-old wooden churches and folk traditions endure. Belarus is sometimes called the lungs of Europe, thanks to pristine forests and wetlands like those of Belovezhskaya Pushcha, home to the European bison. Despite political and economic difficulties, Belarusians share a strong sense of hospitality and cultural pride, dreaming of a future that blends their Slavic roots, natural heritage, and aspirations for a more open society. Chapter 157. Belgium, where diversity finds harmony. Though relatively small, Belgium brims with linguistic and cultural variety. Flanders to the north speaks Dutch, Flemish. Wallonia in the south speaks French, and a German-speaking region abuts the east. The capital, Brussels, doubles as Europe's political hub, hosting EU and NATO institutions. Belgium's medieval towns, Bruges, Ghent, Antwerp, reveal Gothic spires, cobblestone alleys, and canals reminiscent of fairy tales. The country's cuisine is legendary. Belgian waffles, mussels and fries, and hundreds of unique beers. Despite complexities in federal governance, Belgians have mastered balancing local identities with national unity. Their success underscores how multiculturalism can thrive through compromise, creativity, and a shared love of life's small pleasures, like chocolate pralines in a cozy cafe. Chapter 158. Bosnia and Herzegovina, Bridge Between Worlds. Where the Dinaric Alps meet the Balkan Peninsula, Bosnia and Herzegovina melds Muslim, Orthodox, Christian, and Catholic heritages, traces of Ottoman and Austro-Hungarian rule. Medieval monasteries stand near Ottoman-era bazaars, while the iconic Stari Most, Old Bridge, in Mostar symbolizes both conflict and reconciliation. The tumultuous 1990s war left deep scars, but today, cities like Sarajevo buzz with youth-driven arts, tech, and a warm spirit of coexistence. Bay's soup, cevapi, and strong coffee keep conversation flowing in intimate kafanas. Outdoors, emerald rivers and rugged mountains entice adventurers to raft, hike, and ski. This renewed vitality proves that even from a painful past, a nation's mosaic of faiths, traditions, and perseverance can illuminate a path toward unity and hope. Chapter 159. Bulgaria. Folklore and forward motion. Bulgaria traces its lineage to the First Bulgarian Empire of the 7th century, with a blend of Slavic, Thracian, and Proto-Bulgarian roots. The Cyrillic script, used by millions worldwide, was developed here, a source of national pride. Ottoman influence also shaped architecture, cuisine, and traditions like the lively horo dance. Modern Sofia, the capital, juxtaposes ancient Roman ruins with contemporary art galleries. Meanwhile, rose valleys produce famed Bulgarian rose oil, an essential ingredient in global perfumery. Thriving outsourcing and tourism offer new opportunities, while folk festivals celebrate pagan-rooted traditions such as fire dancing. Bulgaria's resilience amid historic shifts highlights how a strong cultural core, rooted in language, dance, and communal celebrations, can guide a country forward. Chapter 160. Croatia, Dalmatian Coast, and Cultural Renaissance. Stretching along the sparkling Adriatic Sea, Croatia's Dalmatian coast boasts medieval walled cities, limestone cliffs, and over 1,000 islands. Successive foreign rulers, Venetians, Austrians, Ottomans, left a patchwork of influences in architecture and gastronomy. The 1990s Yugoslav wars tested national unity, but Croatia emerged with a revived identity. Dubrovnik's fortified old town and Split's Diocletian's palace entrance visitors seeking living history. Inland, Plitvice Lakes National Park enchants with cascading waterfalls and turquoise waters. Modern Croatians excel in shipbuilding, tourism, sports, notably football, and the booming tech startup scene in Zagreb. Their unwavering belief in heritage and Mediterranean flair guides them, proving that coastal charms can flourish hand in hand with dynamic reinvention. Chapter 161. Cyprus, Island of Mediterranean Myths, politically in Europe, geographically at the crossroads of Europe and Asia. Steeped in legends of Aphrodite's birth along its shoreline, Cyprus has long been a nexus for Greek, Phoenician, Roman, and Ottoman civilizations. Today, the island is divided between the internationally recognized Republic of Cyprus in the south and the self-declared Turkish Republic of Northern Cyprus. Despite these complexities, Cypriots share a deeply rooted identity shaped by the warmth of the Mediterranean. Sun-soaked beaches, Byzantine churches, and traditional tavernas invite visitors into a relaxed rhythm of life. Meze feasts, grilled halloumi, olives, fresh seafood reinforce the communal spirit, while modern cities like Nicosia blend ancient walls with contemporary galleries. Though political tensions remain, Cyprus's cultural fusion and strategic location remind us how an island can navigate multiple legacies, forging unity through shared music, cuisine, and cherished traditions. Chapter 162. Czech Republic, Bohemian Rhapsody. Nestled in Central Europe, the Czech Republic, historically Bohemia and Moravia, once anchored the Holy Roman Empire under Charles IV. This legacy glitters in Prague's Old Town, where medieval spires crown the city's 100 towers, and the iconic Charles Bridge arches over the Vltava River. After a peaceful split from Slovakia in 1993, the Czech Republic evolved as a hub for tourism, cutting-edge manufacturing, and technology. Czech beer culture, Pilsner originated in Plzeň, interweaves with folk traditions, puppet theaters, and avant-garde art scenes. Known for wry humor and intellectual pursuits, Czechs prove that the alchemy of history, innovation, and a convivial spirit can transform a small state into a cultural gem shining at the heart of Europe. Chapter 163. Denmark. Kingdom of Hygge. Denmark's royal lineage traces back over 1,000 years, shaping a country famed for its seafaring Vikings, maritime trade, and social democratic ethos. Copenhagen's colorful Nijhaan Canal District and the iconic Little Mermaid statue recall a storied maritime past. Yet modern Denmark also leads in green tech, design minimalism, and progressive governance. Hygge, a Danish concept centered on cozy conviviality, pervades everything from candlelit dinners with friends to bike-friendly streets. Wind turbines dot the coastline, reflecting a drive for sustainability. Through advanced education, healthcare, and a balanced work-life philosophy, Danes nurture happiness rankings among the world's highest. Their example shows that while life's storms may come and go, the warmth of community and responsible stewardship can keep a nation's spirit glowing. Chapter 164. Estonia. Digital pioneers of the Baltic. Perched by the Baltic Sea, Estonia absorbed centuries of Danish, German, Swedish, and Russian influences, forging a distinct Finno-Ugric identity. After regaining independence from the Soviet Union in 1991, Estonians rapidly modernized, becoming a global leader in e-government and tech startups. Skype originated here. Medieval Tallinn, a UNESCO World Heritage Site, enchants with cobblestone streets and Gothic spires, while digital IDs and e-residency programs define a futuristic approach to governance. Singing festivals unite thousands of voices, echoing the crucial role of choral traditions in Estonia's singing revolution for independence. This fusion of deep heritage and tech-savvy progress exemplifies how a small nation can make itself heard loudly on the global stage. Chapter 165. Finland, where nature nurtures innovation. Finland's pristine lakes and endless forests inspired the epic Kalevala, shaping national identity around an unbreakable bond with nature. Formerly ruled by Sweden, then Russia, Finland declared independence in 1917. Though initially struggling, the country emerged as a world leader in education, environmental stewardship, and innovation, home to Nokia and cutting-edge gaming companies like Supercell. Sauna culture epitomizes Finnish living, offering a serene ritual that unites family, friends, and even diplomatic guests. Winters might be dark, but the northern lights and the Finnish concept of sisu, resilient perseverance, guide Finns through challenges. Minimalist design, metal music festivals, and polished welfare policies attest that focusing on well-being, equality, and creative vision can carve out a luminous future amidst northern snows. Chapter 166. France. Liberté, égalité, fraternité. A global cultural icon, France has influenced art, cuisine, fashion, and political thought for centuries. From Gaulish tribes and Roman rule to the Sun King's Versailles, revolutionary fervor in 1789, and modern-day EU leadership, France's legacy is immense. Paris exudes artistic grandeur at the Louvre, the bohemian flair of Montmartre, and the haute couture of the Champs-Élysées. Meanwhile, each region has its own identity. Bordeaux's wine, Brittany's crepes, Provence's lavender fields, and Alsace's half-timbered villages. The motto Liberté, Égalité, Fraternité underscores a national commitment to human rights and social progress. Whether championing UNESCO-listed gastronomy or pioneering sustainable farming, France shows that the blend of tradition, creativity, and bold ideals can captivate hearts far beyond Europe's borders. Chapter 167. Germany. Innovation built on depth, from the Holy Roman Empire and the Hanseatic League to Prussia and modern reunification, Germany's complex history shaped Central Europe profoundly. Philosophers like Kant and Hegel, composers like Bach and Beethoven, and inventors such as Gutenberg trace the country's deep intellectual roots. Post-World II, Germany rebuilt as an economic powerhouse, anchored by engineering, automotive brilliance, and social market principles. Berlin, once a city severed by the Iron Curtain, now thrives as a hub of startups, art collectives, and cultural experimentation. During Oktoberfest, Bavarian cities overflow with friendly revelers dressed in dirndl and lederhosen, while in the Rhineland, carnival traditions underscore a love of community festivity. Germany's path, reconciling a turbulent past with a forward-facing present, highlights how accountability, reinvention, and precision can yield a vibrant mosaic of prosperity and freedom. Chapter 168. Greece. Birthplace of Western ideals, cradle of democracy, philosophy, and the Olympic Games, Greece's ancient city-states left an indelible mark on Western civilization. The Parthenon in Athens, perched atop the Acropolis, testifies to a golden age of art and thought under Pericles, Plato, and Aristotle. Later, Byzantine and Ottoman influences further enriched Greek language, food, and customs. Modern Greece showcases iconic islands like Santorini and Mykonos, drawing millions of visitors seeking azure seas and whitewashed villages. Despite economic challenges in recent decades, Greeks remain profoundly attached to philoxenia, hospitality, lively tavernas, and spirited discussions over coffee. Their cultural pulse, merging tradition with contemporary expression, reminds us that the seeds of democracy, critical thinking, and zest for life can sprout anew, even amid rocky terrain. Chapter 169. Hungary, heart of the Pannonian Plains, descendants of the Magyars, who arrived in Europe during the 9th century, Hungarians cultivated a language and identity distinct from Slavic or Germanic neighbors. The Austro-Hungarian Empire shaped grand architecture in Budapest, still known as the Pearl of the Danube. Ruin bars, thermal baths, and the iconic Parliament building beckon travelers to Hungary's capital. Beyond the city, Lake Balaton and the Puszta, Great Plain, preserve rural traditions, from horsemanship shows to paprika-infused goulash. With strong classical music legacies, think Bartók, Kodály, Hungary also embraces modern entrepreneurial ventures in the EU marketplace. Celebrations revolve around folk costumes, harvest festivals, and a pride in Magyar heritage, all fueling a sense that even amid external pressures, Hungary's cultural core remains a wellspring of passion and innovation. Chapter 170. Iceland. Vikings by fiery shores. Iceland's stark, otherworldly landscapes brim with glaciers, volcanoes, geysers, and black sand beaches, testimony to the island's fiery geological birth. Norse settlers arrived around 874 AD, establishing the world's oldest surviving parliament, the Alþingi, in 930. Isolated for centuries, Iceland fostered a rich saga tradition capturing heroic tales and genealogies. Modern Reykjavik pulses with creative energy. Artists, musicians like Björk and Sigur Rós, and tech startups thrive amid the midnight sun or polar winter nights. Geothermal energy powers most of the country, and a communal ethos emphasizes gender equality and environmental stewardship. Icelanders embrace both adversity and freedom, revealing how a small population in a rugged land can harness nature's extremes to kindle resilience and wonder. Chapter 171. Ireland, Emerald Isle of Myths and Music. Cloaked in rolling green hills and rugged coasts, Ireland is famous for folklore. Leprechauns, banshees, and fairy mounds woven into Celtic myth. Long a land of clans and chieftains, Ireland saw Viking raids, Norman invasions, and centuries of British rule. The 20th century brought independence for most of the island, while Northern Ireland remained part of the UK, prompting decades of conflict known as the Troubles. Today, Ireland's capital, Dublin, resonates with literary heritage. James Joyce, W.B. Yeats, Oscar Wilde. The Gaelic language experiences revival efforts, and a robust tech industry dubs the capital Europe's Silicon Docks. Traditional pubs brim with fiddles, bodhráns, and warm camaraderie. From sweeping fields in the west to the new cultural confidence of Belfast, Ireland showcases that through stories, music, and resilience, a once subjugated land can transform itself into a beacon of literary brilliance and innovative spirit. Chapter 172. Italy, Renaissance and Reverie. From ancient Rome's mighty empire to the Renaissance that birthed Michelangelo and Leonardo da Vinci, Italy's cultural legacy is unparalleled. The Colosseum, Pantheon, and Vatican City offer glimpses of grand histories, while Florence's Duomo and Venetian canals reflect medieval and Renaissance splendor. Unification in the 19th century forged modern Italy from a patchwork of city-states. Cuisine is sacred. Pasta, pizza, and wines vary by region, each proud of its gastronomic identity. Modern Italy also excels in fashion, automotive design, Ferrari, Lamborghini, and cutting-edge research. Piazza gatherings highlight a strong sense of community. La dolce vita thrives in the simplest pleasures of conversation and espresso, with unbreakable threads binding art, family, and devotion to craft. Italy's resonance in global culture remains as vibrant as a Tuscan sunset. Chapter 173. Kosovo, a new chapter of self-determination, partially recognized. Located in the Central Balkans, Kosovo declared independence from Serbia in 2008 and is recognized by over 100 UN member states. Historically, tensions flared amid centuries of shifting empires, Byzantine, Ottoman, and conflict in the late 20th century that garnered international intervention. Pristina, Kosovo's capital, pulses with youthful optimism, creative startups, and a cafe culture reminiscent of Southern Europe. The majority Albanian population balances strong Islamic heritage with a secular, modern outlook. Minority Serb communities preserve Orthodox sites like the UNESCO-listed Visoki Dečani Monastery. Despite political hurdles, Kosovars channel a fresh, entrepreneurial spirit, demonstrating that even fledgling nations, rooted in a mosaic of cultures and experiences, can strive to craft a peaceful and forward-thinking society. Chapter 174. Latvia, Song of the Baltic. Latvia, perched between Lithuania and Estonia, flourished under the Hanseatic League's trade routes, later falling under Polish, Swedish, and Russian rule. Its capital, Riga, known for Art Nouveau architecture, bridges a medieval old town and modern cultural scenes. After regaining independence from the Soviet Union in 1991, Latvians rebuilt swiftly, embracing the EU and NATO. Choral festivals remain at the heart of Latvian identity, recalling how singing united citizens in the singing revolution. Nature also shapes daily life. Dense forests, pristine beaches along the Baltic Sea, and vast wetlands. Modern artisans fuse folk motifs with new designs, highlighting a national confidence that venerates tradition while welcoming a tech-savvy tomorrow. Latvia's voice resonates, a testament to the power of unity forged through song and perseverance. Chapter 175, Liechtenstein, Fairy Tale Principality. Sandwiched between Switzerland and Austria, Liechtenstein is a German-speaking microstate perched in the Alps. The principality's medieval Vaduz castle sits above the capital, symbolizing the centuries-old monarchy. Remarkably, Liechtenstein survived European upheavals, retaining independence and forging a prosperous economy anchored by finance, manufacturing, and tourism. Citizens enjoy some of the highest living standards globally, guided by communal solidarity. Hiking trails and vineyards unfold among mountain slopes, revealing breathtaking panoramas. Despite its modest size, just 160 square kilometers, Liechtenstein invests in cultural life, from art museums to classical concerts. This alpine sanctuary reminds us that even the smallest realms can flourish when visionary governance and a cohesive population share a passion for heritage and progress. Chapter 176, Lithuania, Guardian of the Baltics. Ancient Lithuanians once assembled a vast Grand Duchy in medieval times, forming a pivotal union with Poland. Over centuries, partitions by neighboring powers tested Lithuania's sovereignty. By the 20th century, it endured Soviet occupation, eventually reclaiming independence in 1990, sparking the unraveling of the USSR. Vilnius, the capital, balances Baroque elegance with a thriving Bohemian quarter known as Ujupis, a self-declared republic of artists. Lithuanians unite under folk dances, intricate cross-crafting traditions, and respect for their complex past. Digital tech, biotech, and fintech sectors now flourish, while UNESCO-listed sites like the Curonian Spit enchant visitors. Radiating perseverance, Lithuania proves that safeguarding language, identity, and the will to decide one's fate can light a steadfast path forward. Chapter 177, Luxembourg, Europe's hidden gem. Cradled between Belgium, France, and Germany, the Grand Duchy of Luxembourg weaves a tapestry of languages, Luxembourgish, French, and German, into daily life. Long an agrarian land, modern Luxembourg stands as a global financial center and EU capital, hosting European institutions in the Kirchberg district. Its storybook capital, Luxembourg City, soars atop steep cliffs dotted with fortifications recognized by UNESCO. Yet behind the cosmopolitan bustle, traditions thrive. Festivals celebrating wine harvests, folk dances, and an ethos of multilingual collaboration. Despite rapid modern growth, Luxembourg remains anchored by communal closeness and an appreciation for cross-border dialogue. The result is a microstate that brilliantly showcases how unity in diversity can power prosperity, even amid towering neighbors. Chapter 178, Malta, Archipelago of Ancient Temples. Set in the central Mediterranean, Malta's strategic position has lured Phoenicians, Romans, Arabs, Normans, and the Knights of St. John, leaving centuries of fortifications and eclectic influences. Valletta, the UNESCO-listed capital, unfolds with Baroque palaces and St. John's Co-Cathedral, while ancient megalithic temples predate the Egyptian pyramids. Modern Malta has capitalized on tourism and maritime industries, with gaming and financial services also booming. Maltese, a Semitic language infused with Latin elements, echoes the archipelago's storied past. Amid rocky coasts and azure seas, Maltese people celebrate Christian festivals, festi, with fireworks and processions, cherishing a collective sense of resilience. This interplay of antiquity, commerce, and vibrant celebrations proves that a small island chain can wield outsized cultural and economic influence. Chapter 179, Moldova, Wine cellars and folk traditions wedged between Ukraine and Romania, Moldova navigated centuries under Principality of Moldavia, Ottoman suzerainty, Russian Empire, and Soviet governance. Since independence in 1991, it has grappled with economic and political challenges, including the breakaway region of Transnistria. Nevertheless, Moldovans hold tight to traditions of hospitality and community resilience. The nation's vast underground wine cellars at Mileshti Michi and Krikova, among the largest in the world, spotlight a proud viniculture heritage. In rural areas, colorful carpets, folk dances, and fresh produce markets capture daily life. Urban youth, especially in Chisinau, power new tech startups and creative ventures. By mingling old customs with modern ambition, Moldova journeys toward growth, proving that culture and collective grit can chart a path to a brighter tomorrow. Chapter 180. Monaco, Opulent Riviera Enclave. This city-state on the French Riviera might be Europe's second smallest country after Vatican City, but Monaco is synonymous with glamour. Côte d'Azur sun, yacht-lined harbors, the Grand Prix, and the Monte Carlo Casino. The Grimaldi family has ruled for centuries, forging a constitutional monarchy that thrives on tourism, finance, and real estate. Yet beyond the high-end sheen, Monaco invests in marine conservation and cultural events, like the Ballets de Monte Carlo. Its population is incredibly international, with expats from around the globe drawn by minimal taxes and seaside charm. Amid the glitz, Monegasques maintain local customs, a shared language, Monegasque, and strong community ties. Their tale underscores that while wealth sparkles, it's tradition and civic responsibility that underpin true stability and continuity. Chapter 181. Montenegro, Black Mountains, Bright Future. In Montenegrin, the name Crna Gora means Black Mountain, a nod to the dramatic peaks looming over the Adriatic coastline. Encompassed by medieval Venetian outposts, Ottoman influences, and a union with Serbia, Montenegro declared independence in 2006. KOTOR's UNESCO-listed Bay Area reveals winding streets and fortified walls that echo maritime glory. Tourism surges thanks to scenic fjord-like vistas, pristine beaches, and wilderness areas like Dermator National Park. Montenegrins balance a laid-back cafe culture with an aspiration to join the EU, modernizing infrastructure and governance. Warmly welcoming visitors, they celebrate centuries-old Orthodox rites, local wines, and rakia. Montenegro's story proves that a modest population perched on rugged terrain can forge a dynamic identity bridging tradition and global engagement. Chapter 182. Netherlands, Canals, Culture, and Commerce. The Netherlands, often called Holland, though that's just one region, claims a rich maritime heritage that once birthed a global empire. Today, windmills, tulip fields, and dikes reflect a centuries-long battle against rising waters, while Amsterdam's canals, protected by UNESCO, are lined with gabled houses and world-class museums, Rijksmuseum, Van Gogh Museum. The Dutch remain pioneers in water management, art, design, and progressive social policies. Bicycle culture fosters sustainability, with more bikes than people. From the polder system that reclaimed land from the sea to modern multinational corporations, the Netherlands encapsulates a can-do ethos, leveraging creativity, tolerance, and merchant instincts for a flourishing, open-minded society that sets benchmarks in Europe and beyond. Chapter 183. North Macedonia, Age-old crossroads. A nexus of Greek, Roman, Byzantine, and Ottoman legacies, North Macedonia, officially renamed in 2019, has a history as vibrant as its mountainous terrain. The medieval city of Ohrid, by its turquoise lake, houses some of the world's oldest Slavic monasteries, lending it the title Jerusalem of the Balkans. Post-Yugoslavia independence tested the new nation, culminating in peaceful reforms and EU integration ambitions. Macedonian folk music, swirling dances, and hearty cuisine center community gatherings. Skopje's downtown, punctuated by newly erected statues and neoclassical facades, reflects a drive to reclaim a historical narrative. Despite disputes over heritage and identity, North Macedonians channel resilience, proving that respect for ancestry can guide a proud, forward-looking journey. Chapter 184. Norway. Fjords and forward thinking. Carved by glaciers, Norway's coastline extends over iconic fjords that astound visitors with sheer cliffs plunging into blue waters. Vikings set sail from these shores, forging trade routes and legends across Europe. Over centuries, union with Denmark and then Sweden shaped Norwegian politics until independence in 1905. Discovery of North Sea oil in the 1960s propelled the nation's modern wealth. While Oslo anchors high-level diplomacy and design innovations, rural communities cherish friluftsliv, an ethos of outdoor life embracing hikes and ski treks, even in the Arctic winter. Norwegians top global happiness indices with robust welfare policies and a commitment to gender equality. Balancing resource extraction with sustainability and introspection in nature, Norway charts a path showing how mindful stewardship and social cohesion can sustain a high quality of life. Chapter 185. Poland. History's phoenix, from the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth's golden age to partitions by neighboring empires and 2 world wars, Poland's story echoes resilience. The Warsaw Uprising of 1944 and the Solidarity movement that ignited the fall of communism in Eastern Europe underscore Polish determination. World War II left deep scars, Jewish culture decimated, yet memory kept alive in restored historic synagogues and Holocaust memorials. Today, Warsaw's rebuilt Old Town symbolizes rebirth, while Krakow's medieval square brims with life. Poland excels in manufacturing, IT outsourcing, and game design, fueling youth optimism. Traditional pierogi, folk dances, and vibrant Catholic traditions highlight strong communal ties. Having weathered storms of oppression, Poles embody how united conviction, cultural pride, and a love of liberty can spark renewal generation after generation. Chapter 186. Portugal. Edge of the Old World, gateway to the New, perched on the Iberian Peninsula, Portugal once led the age of exploration, sending caravels across uncharted oceans, forging trade routes to Africa, Asia, and Brazil. Lisbon's hills and Porto's wine cellars recall that golden era, with azulejo-tiled facades lining narrow streets. Portuguese, one of the world's most spoken languages, remains a testament to global connections. In modern times, Portugal embraces tourism, technology, and green energy. The Lisbon coast draws surfers, while the Douro Valley fosters vineyard traditions. Fado music, mournful and passionate, captures a national saudade, a bittersweet longing for what was and what might be. Portugal's soul fuses an adventurous heritage with a contemporary push toward inclusivity and creative reimagining of tradition, bridging its storied past and a bright tomorrow. Chapter 187. Romania, where legend and modernity dance. Carpathian mountains cradle Transylvania, the storied land of medieval fortresses, Gothic spires, and vampire folklore around Dracula's legend. Yet Romania's real identity emerges through Dacia highways of ancient times, the Orthodox monasteries of Moldavia, and the Danube Delta's wildlife havens. Post-communist transition revitalized cities like Bucharest, once called Little Paris, for its Belle Epoque elegance. Romanian tech hubs sprout innovative solutions, while rural areas preserve folk weaving, wood carving, and lively hora dances. The Latin-based Romanian language, poetry of Mihai Eminescu, and distinctive cuisine, sarmale, mamaliga, tie people to land and culture. Despite upheavals, Romania's resurgence proves that by valuing both peasant traditions and global possibility, a nation can emerge from shadows to bloom again. Chapter 188. Russia, European part. vastness meets complexity. While Russia also appears in our Asia coverage, here we focus on its European side, especially Moscow and St. Petersburg. The Kremlin, Red Square, and St. Basil's Cathedral embody centuries of Tsarist splendor, Soviet upheaval, and modern statehood. Artistic golden ages gave us Tolstoy, Dostoevsky, Tchaikovsky, and the Bolshoi Ballet. Today, Russia wrestles with socio-political challenges and international relations, yet the depth of its cultural achievements remains profound. The extravagance of St. Petersburg's Hermitage merges with bustling tech industries and a revival of Orthodox traditions. Whether exploring the Volga River's breadth or the intangible allure of Russian soul, one sees how a vast canvas can produce ceaseless reinvention. Difficult, yet indelibly unique on Europe's eastern frontier. Chapter 1. 189. San Marino Republic. Through the ages tucked within Italy's Apennines, San Marino proclaims itself the world's oldest republic, tracing its foundation to AD 301 by St. Marinus. The medieval peaks of Mount Titano bristle with fortresses, offering sweeping views over the surrounding countryside. Though dwarfed by larger neighbors, San Marino maintains sovereign governance and a distinct identity. Tourism, banking, and local crafts fuel its economy, while ancient laws and traditions bolster civic pride. Festivals reenact crossbow tournaments, heralding a storied independence. San Marino's unwavering existence amid history's conquests attests that self-determination, cherished over centuries, can outlast storms that topple empires. Even a micro-republic perched on a mountaintop can flourish under the banner of resilience and community devotion. Chapter 190. Serbia Bold Steps in the Balkans. At the crossroads of southeastern Europe, Serbia's medieval empire once spanned much of the Balkans, leaving Orthodox monasteries like Studenica and Zika. Ottoman rule and Habsburg influences shaped diverse architecture, while recent decades saw turbulence during the breakup of Yugoslavia. Modern Belgrade surges with nightlife on floating river barges, splavs, and rising tech entrepreneurship. Serbian traditions, rich Slava celebrations, patron saint days, hearty grilled delicacies, savapcici, folk music, animate local gatherings. Despite historical challenges, Serbians hold a fierce sense of humor and proud identity. Through cultural exchange, regional reconciliation efforts, and a passion for creativity, Serbia strides forward, bridging old complexities with a zeal for the future. Chapter 1. 191. Slovakia. Castles above the Danube, formed after the peaceful Velvet Divorce from the Czech Republic in 1993, Slovakia claims breathtaking castles perched atop hills, Spiš Castle, Bojnice Castle, and scenic mountain ranges like the High Tatras. Historically part of the Kingdom of Hungary, later Czechoslovakia, Slovaks forged a distinct language and folklore tradition. Bratislava's charming old town merges with modern business districts, reflecting EU membership since 2004. Folk festivals celebrate traditional costumes and Fujara flutes, while cutting-edge automotive production and IT services anchor the economy. A spirit of camaraderie resonates from wooden mountain villages to the capital's dynamic nightlife. Slovakia's transformation from a land overshadowed by neighbors into an assertive European voice highlights the power of cultural pride balanced with open-minded progress. Chapter 1. 192. Slovenia. A green pearl in the Alps, Slovenia lies at the nexus of Germanic, Latin, and Slavic realms, forging a harmony of language and customs. Once part of Yugoslavia, it claimed independence in 1991 through a relatively peaceful transition. Its jewel, Lake Bled, crowned by a tiny island chapel, symbolizes the postcard perfection that draws eco-tourists and adventurers to the Julian Alps, caves, and wine valleys. Ljubljana, the capital, leads in sustainability, pedestrian-friendly design, and a lively cultural scene. Slovenia's cuisine fuses alpine flavors with Mediterranean influences, while folk traditions remain vibrant in rural festivals. This green heart of Europe proves how a small country, anchored by respect for nature, heritage, and inventive policy, can blossom as a champion of well-being in a complex region. Chapter 193. Spain. A fiesta of cultures, from Moorish Al-Andalus in the south to Celtic-influenced Galicia in the northwest, Spain brims with regional diversity. This legacy stems from Romans, Visigoths, Muslims, and Christian kingdoms that shaped the Reconquista and the era of global exploration. Today, fervent local identities, Catalonia, the Basque Country, and Andalusia, coexist under one crown. Madrid, the capital, teems with museums, Prado, Reina Sofia, and modern business. Barcelona's modernist Gaudi landmarks exude creative brilliance, while flamenco, bullfighting, less common now, and lively fiestas demonstrate cultural passion. Spanish cuisine, tapas, paella, jamón ibérico, unites friends in communal joy. Grappling with economic and political challenges, Spaniards still emphasize alegría, a zest for life that draws the world into their warm embrace of tradition, language, and festivity. Chapter 194. Sweden. Nordic model of balance renowned for the Nobel Prize, IKEA, and pop music juggernauts like ABBA, Sweden has championed egalitarian ideals for centuries. Once a mighty empire overshadowing the Baltic, it evolved into a peaceful nation that welcomed refugees, advanced gender equality, and developed sophisticated welfare policies. Stockholm's sleek design blends medieval Gamla with startup hubs, while northern Lapland enthralls visitors chasing the aurora borealis. Fika, a coffee break with pastries, highlights the importance of well-being and social connection. Whether exploring archipelago coasts or forging innovative climate policies, Swedes value consensus and environmental respect. Their journey from Viking raids to progressive democracy stands testament to how societal harmony and forward-looking invention can shape a stable, contented life. Chapter 1. 195. Switzerland. Peaks of Precision, a confederation of cantons with 4 national languages: German, French, Italian, Romansh. Switzerland perfected direct democracy and neutrality through centuries of careful negotiation. Alpine peaks, pristine lakes, and well-tended meadows define the landscape, while Swiss banking, watchmaking, and chocolate-making epitomize craftsmanship and quality. Cities like Zurich and Geneva rank among the world's most livable, championing international diplomacy and financial leadership. Meanwhile, smaller villages preserve folk music, alpine horn traditions, and communal festivals. The Swiss consensus-building model ensures that even a multilingual, culturally varied nation can unify. Thus, from the Matterhorn summit to the meticulous architecture of Bern, Switzerland illuminates how reliability, respect for diversity, and precise attention to detail can earn global admiration. Antarctica, continent of ice and cooperation, icy magnitude. Antarctica is Earth's coldest, driest, and windiest continent. Over 98% of its landmass lies buried under an ice sheet, often more than a kilometer thick, representing roughly 70% of the world's freshwater. The towering glaciers and vast ice shelves form a landscape so extreme that few land animals can survive here. Even hardy penguins, seals, and seabirds rely on the surrounding ocean for sustenance. Scientific haven. Instead of sovereign nations, research stations from more than 30 countries dot the continent, housing rotating teams of scientists and support staff. They study climate change, glaciology, astronomy, and biology, unraveling mysteries spanning from ozone depletion to ancient microbial life trapped in ice. These bases exist under the Antarctic Treaty System, ATS, a pioneering international agreement that designates Antarctica for peaceful research, promotes scientific collaboration, and bans military activity or mineral exploitation. Wildlife wonders. Though life on the continent itself is sparse, coastal waters teem with krill, fish, whales, and the charming stars of Antarctica. Penguins. Emperor penguins famously brave sub-zero blizzards to incubate eggs, while Adelie penguins patrol the ice edges in busy colonies. Seals bask on the ice floes, and pods of orcas hunt amid frigid seas. These species embody nature's resilience, thriving in some of the harshest conditions on the planet. An ongoing experiment in peace. The Antarctic Treaty, signed in 1959, in force from 1961, remains a remarkable testament to global unity. Over 50 nations have joined, agreeing to use Antarctica exclusively for science and to safeguard its environment. This approach has no parallel elsewhere on Earth. Disputes over territory are effectively frozen, nuclear activity is barred, and free scientific exchange is encouraged. The treaty exemplifies how cooperation can transcend political lines to protect a continent dedicated to knowledge for all humanity. Challenges and climate insights. Antarctica's vast ice sheets contain crucial data about Earth's climate history. Ice cores reveal atmospheric conditions spanning hundreds of thousands of years, helping scientists predict future warming trends and sea level rises. Meanwhile, the continent grapples with the threat of climate change, particularly ice shelf collapse, potentially impacting global ocean circulation and coastlines worldwide. In this sense, Antarctica acts as Earth's early warning system, reminding us that changes at the poles have sweeping consequences for ecosystems and communities everywhere. Adventure on the Edge tourism to Antarctica is highly regulated, but has grown in recent decades. Cruise ships and adventure expeditions enable travelers to witness mesmerizing icebergs, midnight suns, and surreal polar light displays. Strict environmental guidelines ensure minimal human impact, emphasizing visitor responsibility in preserving one of Earth's last great wildernesses. Antarctica stands as a continent beyond borders, where scientific endeavor unites nations, and every step demands respect for the fragile environment. In a world often divided, this vast polar desert offers hope that cooperation, curiosity, and responsible stewardship can transcend politics. As you close your global expedition on Next Big_Trend, take a moment to contemplate Antarctica's message. We share one planet, and by working together, even amid the most extreme conditions, we can protect our common future. Wow! What a journey! From the ancient ruins and towering skyscrapers of the Americas, through the vibrant cultures and legendary empires of Africa and Asia, across the island gems of Oceania, into Europe's tapestry of art and innovation, and finally touching down on the icy frontiers of Antarctica. We've traversed countless stories, met inspiring figures of resilience and brilliance, and seen how each corner of our planet overflows with beauty, heritage, and awe-inspiring possibilities. But remember, our channel isn't just about history. We post about everything that every curious mind should hear, learn, and explore. From groundbreaking science and culture to life-changing advice and global trends that shape our future. And if you're not following us, there's a huge chance you'll lose us in the endless sea of online content. Don't let this be our final farewell. Hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell so you never miss another eye-opening video. Each view and comment motivates us to bring you more powerful stories that spark curiosity and inspire your own adventures. Let's keep exploring, learning, and growing together. Subscribe now and we'll see you on the next journey. Thank you for joining us on this incredible odyssey around the globe. Each view, comment, and shared enthusiasm fuels our drive to bring you more stories that spark curiosity and inspire your own adventures. So stick around, subscribe now, and let's keep exploring this amazing world together.